Good morning, my dear friend. Thank you for waking up and stepping into this quiet space of the early morning. Outside, the world is still half asleep. The streets are wrapped in silence. The sky is only beginning to fade from deep blue to pale gray, and the air feels a little cleaner, as if creation itself is holding its breath. This is the hour before noise arrives, before messages, deadlines, and expectations come rushing in. It is a sacred window in the day, a moment when the soul can finally speak. Maybe you did not wake up this early on purpose. Maybe something inside you refused to rest. Your heart has been heavy for a long time, carrying more than it knows how to put into words. There might be a loss that still aches whenever you are alone. There might be a fear about the future that creeps in the moment the room grows quiet. Perhaps you are fighting battles that no one around you can see. Battles in your mind, in your body, or in your home. You smile when the sun is up. You act strong for everyone else. But in these unguarded hours, you feel the truth more clearly than ever. You are tired, and you do not want to carry it by yourself anymore. Picture a person sitting on the edge of their bed in the dark, with tears on their face and questions in their chest. They have tried distractions. They have tried running faster, working harder, staying busier. They have tried to convince themselves that time will fix everything. But when the night grows long and sleep will not come, they realize that what hurts inside them is not just a problem to solve. It is a cry for something deeper, for someone greater, for a love that cannot be shaken by circumstances or stolen by loss. If any part of that story feels familiar to you, you are not listening by accident. This moment is a gentle invitation. It is not about being religious enough, strong enough, or perfect. It is about allowing your soul to do what it was created to do, to reach beyond the limits of your own understanding and touch the heart of God. Prayer is not only a ritual. Prayer is a conversation, a real exchange, where you can bring your pain, your doubts, and your questions, and in return receive comfort, direction, and strength that is greater than your own. All through history, people have discovered that the dark hours can become holy ground when they choose to talk to God instead of only talking to their fears. They have learned that faith is not pretending everything is fine. Faith is daring to believe that even in the middle of everything that is not fine, you are not alone and your story is not over. When a sincere heart turns toward heaven, even with the smallest whisper, something inside begins to shift. Worry loses some of its power. Shame begins to loosen its grip. Hope, like the first line of sunrise, appears at the edge of the horizon of the heart. Today, in this early morning, you are invited into that same kind of encounter. You do not have to have the right words. You do not have to hide your questions or your tears. You only need a willing heart, a heart that says, "I am here and I am open." As you listen on, let this time become more than background sound. Let it become your own doorway into a living relationship with the one who sees you, knows you, and has never stopped caring for you. So take a slow breath. Feel the quiet of this moment. Let the weight on your shoulders come into the light, instead of staying in the shadows. In the minutes ahead, you will be guided, step by step, into a deeper conversation with God that can touch your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, and your future. If you are willing, simply whisper from your heart that you are ready, and allow this new day to begin not just for your body, but for your soul. Dear Heavenly Father, I come before you in the quiet of this morning, when the world has not yet fully awakened. The air feels heavy with stillness, and the light outside is only beginning to touch the edges of the sky. In this silence, I feel both small and seen. I have carried so much through sleepless nights. Thoughts that will not rest, memories that replay without mercy. My heart feels tired, not only from what has happened, from trying to hold everything together alone. And yet, somehow, you have drawn me here, in this hour when most people sleep. I sense that you are near, waiting not for perfect words, but for a willing heart. You know the heaviness I do not speak aloud, the moments when fear wraps around me tighter than breath. There are wounds I cannot name, disappointments I try to hide, and fears that whisper louder than faith. I have smiled through days while breaking inside, convincing the world that I am strong when all I wanted was a place to fall apart safely. But here, in this quiet dawn, I stop pretending. I admit that I need you more than ever. I do not come with polished prayers or practiced lines. I come as I am, unguarded and trembling, because deep inside I believe that you still listen even to the faintest cry. As the darkness begins to fade outside, I feel something shift within me. The sky changes color slowly, and I am reminded that light always finds a way to return. Maybe this is what you want me to see, that even in my longest night, there is a promise of morning. My soul has lived in that in-between place where hope flickers, but never fully dies. I want to believe again that new beginnings are possible, that my story is not finished, that broken pieces can still become something beautiful in your hands. Teach me how to breathe again, not in panic but in peace, not in fear but in trust. I open the doors of my heart now, every hidden room that I have locked away. Step into the places where I have pushed you out. Step into the memories that still ache, the failures that still accuse, the guilt that still clings like a shadow. I give you my silence, my confusion, my inability to fix what feels beyond repair. You are not surprised by my weakness, and you do not turn away from my tears. If I have learned anything through all of this, it is that you do not need me to be perfect to be present. You simply ask that I show up, that I let you in, even when my faith feels too small to offer. The world outside my window is beginning to stir. Somewhere, a bird starts to sing. Not because the light is fully here, but because it knows the light is coming. That sound feels like a lesson written into creation itself. Hope sings before the sunrise. And maybe faith works the same way. It begins not when everything is bright, but when the heart dares to believe while it is still dim. So here I am, trying to sing again, quietly, uncertainly, but still believing that you hear every note, even the broken ones. Let this morning be a turning point, the kind that no one else will notice, but that heaven will mark as the moment I began to live differently. Dear Father, you know how often I have searched for comfort in things that never satisfy. I have chased distractions, poured myself into noise, filled the silence with everything except your presence, but none of it lasts. The peace I long for can only come from you. So I ask you now, not for answers, but for awareness, not for control, but for closeness. Let your presence settle around me, like light spreading across the room. Let it reach the corners of my heart, where shadows have lingered too long. Remind me that you are not far away, but closer than breath, closer than fear, closer than every racing thought. If this is what surrender feels like, then I want to stay here. I want to stop fighting the process of being known by you. I want to believe that even this quiet weakness is sacred ground. The truth is, I cannot rescue myself. I cannot heal my own heart, but I can open it to you. I can let the morning become a doorway to something eternal. Let this stillness become the space where your peace is born in me again. Let your love soak into the cracks of my soul until what once felt broken begins to glow with the warmth of your grace. So here, in this hour before the day begins, I bring you everything that I am and everything I am not. Take the fragments of my strength, the echoes of my prayers, the quiet H of my waiting. Turn them into something beautiful, something that points back to you. If you are writing a story with my life, let this be the page where surrender meets hope. The sky outside is turning gold now, and I want to rise with it, not to run ahead, but to walk with you, step by step, heart by heart, breath by breath, until light fills every place that once held fear. Father, the morning light has grown a little stronger now, soft enough to touch the walls and remind me that time keeps moving forward, even when I feel like standing still. The world is waking, but my spirit wants to linger in this quiet space with you. The noise has not yet arrived, and I realize how rare it is to sit in the calm before life begins demanding again. My heart still feels fragile from all it has released, but there is also a gentleness here, a sense that you are near even without a word being spoken. I do not want to rush this moment. I do not want to fill it with too much talking. I only want to feel you close enough that silence itself becomes a language we share. Lord, I sense that you are teaching me something hidden in this stillness. For so long, I have equated prayer with activity, with a list of needs and requests, with words trying to reach heaven. But now I see that sometimes heaven reaches me best when I stop speaking. When I sit without performing, I notice the subtleties of your presence. The quiet feels alive, like a soft current of air moving through an open room. I realize that you are not waiting for perfect sentences. You are waiting for openness, for stillness, for trust that does not need constant explanation. I am learning that being with you can be enough, even without asking, even without answers. God, my mind tries to fill every silence. It wants to plan, to solve, to control. Even now, I catch myself thinking ahead, trying to predict what this day will bring. But in your quiet, I hear another invitation to stop reaching into the future and to be fully awake to this present moment. There is peace here if I will only stop chasing it. There is strength forming underneath my stillness, the kind that cannot be manufactured by effort. You are whispering into places that words cannot reach, and I feel those whispers settling inside me like drops of rain that do not make noise yet change everything they touch. I breathe slowly and let that breath become a prayer in itself. Inhale, and I feel your nearness. Exhale, and I let go of all that is not meant for me to carry. I picture my thoughts like feathers scattered in the wind, drifting into your hands one by one until my mind becomes weightless. I do not need to hold them so tightly. I do not need to analyze what peace feels like. I only need to stay long enough for my soul to remember how to rest. For so long, I have equated peace with the absence of problems, but maybe peace is what remains steady even when problems persist. It is not an escape, but a returning to you, to the center, to love that does not waver with circumstances. Lord, in this stillness I begin to notice the small sounds that I normally overlook: the hum of the morning air, the distant rustle of leaves, the faint rhythm of my own heartbeat. They feel like reminders that life continues quietly beneath all the noise. And if creation can exist without hurry, so can I. The trees do not worry about their growth. The river does not question its flow. They simply respond to the rhythm you placed within them. Teach me to move like that, to trust your timing the way the dawn trusts the sun to rise. Let my heart mirror that rhythm until peace becomes my default, not my reward. God, I know that stillness is not always easy. Sometimes silence exposes what I try to hide. In quiet moments, the echo of fear still tries to speak. The old voices return to remind me of what I lost. But even those echoes begin to fade when I remember that you are not absent in the silence. You are the one filling it. You do not use quietness to punish me, but to heal me. It is here that you reorient my heart, teaching it to listen before it reacts. It is here that you shape my thoughts, preparing me for conversations I do not yet know I will have. Every pause becomes purposeful in your hands. Every breath becomes an exchange, me letting go, you filling in. I sit in this sacred pause, and I start to understand why you meet people in the early hours. When the world is asleep, there is less to prove, fewer masks to wear. I can be honest here without fear of judgment. My posture becomes my prayer. My quiet becomes my worship. This peace is not empty. It is full of you. I can feel you gently untangling the knots of worry in my chest. You are showing me that silence can be as holy as any spoken word. In fact, it may be the purest language of trust. Father, I realize that stillness is not inactivity but intimacy. It is choosing to remain in your presence even when there is nothing dramatic happening. It is learning to let peace grow slowly instead of demanding instant relief. I have chased after so many voices promising comfort, but none compare to the depth of this quiet communion. I can feel your presence like the slow warming of sunlight across my face. It does not shout. It simply fills. It does not force. It unfolds. And in that unfolding, I find something I have been missing: a calm confidence that you are already working even when I cannot see it. I close my eyes and think about the day ahead, and instead of fear, there is calm anticipation. Whatever waits for me, I will carry this stillness into it. I will try to move slower, Speak kinder. Listen deeper. I will remember that not every silence needs to be broken, and not every question needs an immediate answer. If I lose my peace during the day, I will return to this moment in my memory, the quiet morning, the steady breath, the sense that you were right here, teaching me to trust what cannot be seen. Lord, help me to remember that peace is not a place I visit, but a home I build within. Let me guard this stillness like a flame in the wind, tending it carefully so that no rush of worry can extinguish it. As the morning continues to unfold, I feel ready to rise. Not because I have everything figured out, but because I am resting in you. There is power in this pause, and it belongs to you. What I found in the silence is not emptiness, it is presence. What I found in stillness is not the absence of life, but the beginning of it. Lord, as the morning deepens and the light grows clearer, I find myself remembering. The stillness you gave me has quieted the noise inside long enough for my memory to breathe again. It is strange how easily I forget the times you have carried me. My mind has been so focused on what hurts that I often overlook the moments when you saved me in ways I'd not even recognize. But now, as I sit here in this quiet morning light, I begin to trace your fingerprints through my past. They were always there in the unexpected kindness of a stranger, in the strength that appeared when I was sure I had none left, in the way certain doors closed only to lead me toward better ones I did not expect. Father, I can see now that not every unanswered prayer was rejection. Some were redirections. Some were shields I mistook for silence. How often I have accused you of absence when you were, in truth, protecting me from things I could not understand. There were nights when I thought I would not make it through, yet somehow morning still came, and with it came a reason to try again. You never promised that life would be easy, but you have proven again and again that I would never face it alone. I think of the people who crossed my path at just the right time, the words that arrived like light breaking through a closed curtain, and I realize these were not coincidences. They were whispers of your faithfulness. God, sometimes miracles do not look like lightning or thunder. Sometimes they look like breath returning after crying too long. They look like laughter resurfacing in a house that once knew only silence. They look like the courage to take one more step when yesterday nearly broke me. I used to expect miracles to change my circumstances, but now I see that the greatest miracles often happen within the quiet transformation of a fearful heart becoming peaceful, of a bitter soul learning to forgive, of a weary spirit finding strength to hope again. Those are the miracles I live among every day. Too subtle for headlines, but powerful enough to change a life. Lord, I remember the child I once was hopeful, curious, unafraid to dream. Somewhere along the way, fear tried to replace that wonder, and pain taught me to guard my heart too tightly. But you have been patient. You have been slowly undoing the knots of disappointment and reminding me that childlike trust is not weakness, it is wisdom. You are restoring my ability to marvel again, to look at small things with gratitude instead of dismissal. The morning light filtering through the window feels different. Now not ordinary, but sacred, as if you are reminding me that even light itself is a miracle, renewed every day without fail. Father, I think of the times when I prayed and nothing seemed to happen. Yet looking back, I see that the waiting was never wasted. You were building endurance when I only wanted relief. You were teaching me to listen when I wanted you to speak loudly. I used to see delay as denial, but now I see it as divine timing. Every season, even the painful ones, had purpose. Every closed door was an act of mercy I did not yet understand. And through it all, you were weaving something steady, something that would last longer than momentary satisfaction, faith that endures. I breathe in deeply now, and each breath feels like a reminder that I am still here, still living proof of grace. There were moments when I thought the story was over, but you wrote another chapter. There were days I wanted to disappear, but you sent someone to remind me that I mattered. The memory of those interventions humbles me. It makes me realize how deeply I am seen. You never stopped watching, never stopped reaching, never stopped believing that I could find my way back to the light. Even when I wandered far, your love followed quietly, waiting for me to notice. God, gratitude begins to rise in me, not as obligation but as overflow. I am grateful for what you gave and for what you withheld. I am grateful for the lessons that hurt but healed me in ways comfort never could. I am grateful for the simple things I once overlooked: the safety of shelter, the taste of food, the warmth of another's hand, the beauty of an ordinary sunrise. These things remind me that you are not only the God of mountains and miracles, but also of mornings and moments. The sacred hides in the simple, and I see it now because you have opened my eyes again. Lord, I realize that remembering is a form of worship. Each memory of your goodness becomes a stone of testimony, a foundation for my trust when fear whispers that I am forgotten. These memories speak louder. They remind me that I have been rescued before, and I will be rescued again. They remind me that you do not begin stories you do not intend to finish. The same love that sustained me yesterday will sustain me today. I may not know what tomorrow brings, but I know who holds tomorrow, and that is enough. Father, I do not want to live forgetfully anymore. I want to carry remembrance like armor. When the next storm comes, let me recall the last one you calmed. When doubt creeps in, remind me of the times you answered prayers I no longer had words to pray. Let memory become my anchor so that even when I cannot see you clearly, I can still trust where you have been. I want to live awake to grace, to notice the small miracles that bloom quietly at my feet while I wait for the big ones on the horizon. As the sun rises higher and the day begins to unfold, I carry this sense of gratitude like light in my chest. It softens everything it touches. It reminds me that every breath, every heartbeat, every unexpected kindness is evidence of your presence. I may not always understand your ways, but I know this: you have never abandoned me. And remembering that truth feels like standing in sunlight after a long night of rain. Each memory of grace becomes another dawn within me, another quiet miracle unfolding in real time. Father, the gratitude that has filled my heart now leads me somewhere deeper. Remembering your faithfulness brings not only peace, but also a gentle conviction, a knowing that trust cannot live only in words. It must become surrender. And that is what I feel you asking of me in this quiet morning light. To let go, truly let go, of what I have been clinging to with trembling hands. To release the weight of control I keep trying to carry, even when it only exhausts me. You are inviting me to trade fear for freedom, but I have learned that surrender is not an easy language. It feels like falling, like losing balance, like stepping into the unknown with eyes closed. Yet even as I hesitate, something in me knows that you have always caught me before I hit the ground. Lord, I realize that surrender is not weakness. It is the deepest form of faith. It is saying, I trust you, even when nothing makes sense. It is choosing rest over resistance, obedience over anxiety. For too long, I have fought battles that were never mine to win. I have tried to fix people, situations, and even myself through sheer willpower, only to end up weary and disappointed. But you are teaching me that letting go is not giving up, it is giving into grace. It is admitting that my hands are too small to hold what only you can carry. It is opening the clenched fists of my heart so that peace can flow in again. God, you know how hard it is for me to release the things that define my sense of safety. I have tied my worth to outcomes, to plans, to approval. I have mistaken control for security, but now I see how fragile that illusion is. The tighter I hold, the more I lose. But when I loosen my grip, when I breathe and let you lead, I begin to feel weightless again. I think of a leaf carried gently on the surface of a river. It does not resist the flow, yet it never drowns. That is how I want my faith to be. Surrendered, yet sustained. Carried, yet never lost. Teach me to trust the current of your will more than the strength of my own direction. Father, I bring before you the things I struggle to release, the fears that still whisper at night, the disappointments I replay in my mind, the people I cannot stop worrying about. I hand them over one by one, like stones dropped into deep water. They sink, but I do not. I remain floating on your mercy. And with every surrender, something inside me grows quieter. My breath slows. My heart softens. The anxiety that used to rise like a tide begins to fade into calm. I am beginning to understand that surrender is not a moment, but a rhythm. A daily practice of releasing what was never mine to begin with. Lord, there are still parts of me that resist this letting go. The parts that fear being forgotten, that cling to control because they do not yet trust that love will hold them. Those parts whisper that if I stop striving, everything will fall apart. But you whisper louder that if I trust you, everything will fall into place. You remind me that surrender is not abandonment, is alignment. When I stop forcing my own way, I finally make room for yours. When I stop demanding outcomes, I can see blessings I was too busy to notice before. And slowly, fear begins to lose its power. I look outside and see the sunlight shifting through the trees, moving with quiet certainty. It does not fight for where to fall. It simply shines, reaching wherever space is made for it. That is what surrender feels like, allowing your light to reach places that were once too guarded. The things I tried to hide, the burdens I tried to manage, are now exposed not to judgment but to healing. You do not demand perfection from me. You invite trust. And when I offer it, you respond not with condemnation, but with peace. God, I confess that I still struggle to surrender the timing of my life. I want answers quickly. I want clarity without waiting. But you keep teaching me that patience is the soil where faith grows. You are not withholding what I need. You are preparing me to receive it. Sometimes your not yet is protection. Sometimes your silence is strategy. When I rest in that truth, I no longer panic in the waiting. I can breathe in uncertainty and still feel safe because I know who holds the timeline. You are never late, even when I am impatient. You are never distant, even when I am doubtful. Father, surrender is teaching me that peace does not depend on outcomes, but on your presence. When I release control, I am not falling into emptiness. I am falling into you. And the more I fall, the more I realize that this is not falling at all, but being caught by everlasting arms. My soul begins to stretch into the freedom I once feared. I find myself whispering, "Take what you must, give what you will, just do not leave me." And I know you never will. You are the constant beneath every change, the foundation beneath every collapse, the calm at the center of every storm. Lord, as I sit here in the golden stillness of morning, I understand that surrender is not something I do. Once it is something I live. It is waking up each day and handing you the pieces of my heart again. It is choosing peace when chaos tempts me to control. It is trusting that even if everything else shifts, your goodness will not. And in that trust, I find the courage to let go, to be vulnerable, to live open-handed in a world that teaches fear. I do not know what this day will bring, but I know that it does not belong to chance. It belongs to you, and so do I. As I release my worries into your care, I feel the quiet power of surrender settling over me, like sunlight on water, soft, steady, and sure. The same hands that shaped the morning hold me now, and that is enough. Lord, after surrender comes movement. My heart feels lighter now. And yet, as I step forward into the day, I can sense the familiar tension between faith and fear. Letting go is only the beginning. Walking forward without knowing what lies ahead is the true test of trust. The path before me is not always marked. And sometimes I wonder if I am even moving in the right direction. But perhaps that is where real faith begins, in the spaces where sight ends. You are not asking me to see every step. You are asking me to take the next one. And so I do, with trembling courage and quiet hope, trusting that your hand is already there waiting for mine. Father, you know how deeply I long for certainty. I crave maps, signs, and guarantees. But you offer something far greater, your presence. You walk beside me, not ahead of me in a way that removes every question, but beside me in a way that turns every question into a conversation. You do not shout instructions from a distance. You whisper guidance into my heart, and I am learning that the unknown is not punishment, it is invitation. It is the space where faith breathes, where I am no longer relying on my understanding, but leaning fully into yours. God, there is a quiet paradox in this journey. You ask me to move, yet also to rest, to trust, yet also to act, to wait, yet not to stand still. I am learning that faith is not a straight line, but a rhythm, one step forward, one pause to listen, one breath to remember that you are still in control. The more I walk with you, the more I realize that the unknown is not empty. It is filled with your unseen work. Every silence hides a preparation. Every delay hides a lesson. And every detour carries me closer to something I cannot yet comprehend. Sometimes, Lord, I wish the road were easier. I wish the sky were always clear and the direction obvious. But I am beginning to understand that easy roads rarely grow deep roots. It is the uncertain ones that shape faith strong enough to endure storms. There is beauty in not knowing, because it keeps me dependent. It keeps me close. If I could see the entire map, I might forget to hold your hand. But here, in the uncertainty, I cling to you with all I have. That, perhaps, is the purpose of the unknown, not to confuse me, but to draw me nearer. Father, when fear begins to whisper, I will remind myself of how many times you have led me through what once terrified me. There were valleys I swore I would not survive, yet I am standing here. There were nights that seemed endless, yet dawn still came. You have never led me where grace could not sustain me. So even when I cannot trace your steps, I will trust your heart. I will choose to believe that every step of obedience, no matter how small, carries eternal weight. The unknown is not my enemy. It is the doorway through which your purpose unfolds. I can almost feel the road beneath my feet, uneven, unpredictable, but somehow holy. Every stone, every turn, every shadow has meaning because you are in it. Sometimes the path feels lonely, but then I remember that loneliness is often where intimacy grows. You speak most clearly when the world is quiet. You reveal most profoundly when everything familiar fades. And so I walk, not because I understand, but because I am known. I am guided not by clarity, but by relationship. Lord, help me to see that trust does not eliminate fear, it transforms it. Fear becomes reverence. Anxiety becomes awe. The unknown stops being a threat and becomes a canvas where you paint something new. I think of Abraham leaving his home without knowing where he was going, of Moses walking into the sea before it parted, of Peter stepping out of the boat before the waves calm. They did not move because they were fearless. They moved because they trusted. And I, too, want to walk that kind of courage, the kind that does not wait for proof before taking the first step. Father, when my mind demands to know why, teach me instead to ask who, because if you are the one leading, then the where and the how will eventually make sense. My understanding has limits, but your wisdom does not. You see the end from the beginning, the purpose behind every detour. Even when I cannot see the full picture, I know that every piece fits into your design. The unknown is not chaos in your hands, it is choreography. Every step I take is part of a greater rhythm that I may not yet recognize, but one day I will. I imagine walking through a forest before sunrise. The path is dim, but every step I take reveals just enough light for the next one. That is what walking with you feels like. You do not flood the road with light all at once. You teach me to trust the lamp for my feet, and in that gradual glow, my dependence deepens. I learn to love the journey, not just the destination. I learn to value the process, not just the promise. The unknown becomes sacred ground, because it is where faith comes alive. God, I do not ask for certainty anymore. I ask for courage. Courage to move when the way is unclear. Courage to believe that even in confusion, you are orchestrating something beautiful. Courage to trust that my weakness is not a flaw, but an opening for your strength. I ask for the kind of peace that walks beside uncertainty and still smiles, the kind of faith that does not need to see the whole horizon to know that the sun will rise. As the morning brightens around me, I sense that every unknown path begins here in quiet trust. The same voice that spoke light into darkness is still speaking now, not with thunder but with assurance. You are not only the God of destinations, you are the God of the journey itself. Every step, even the hesitant ones, is sacred when taken with you. And though I cannot see the full road ahead, I know this much: wherever I walk, you walk with me. And that is enough for today. Father, as I keep walking through the unknown, I realize that every step requires not only trust but also patience. The journey with you is rarely rushed, and that truth both humbles and challenges me. Waiting has never come easily. I live in a world that moves fast, that measures worth by speed, that worships instant results. But you move at the pace of eternity. You are never hurried, never behind, never careless. Every delay in your timing hides a purpose. Even when my human heart struggles to see it, you do not waste time. You use it to shape me, to steady me, to stretch my faith beyond convenience. Lord, I confess that patience feels like an uncomfortable teacher. It exposes my restless places, the parts of me that want progress without process. I want answers now, healing now, resolution now. But you whisper that waiting is not punishment, it is preparation. It is the space where roots grow unseen before fruit appears. It is the pause that teaches my soul to depend not on outcomes but on presence. You are not late. You are thorough. You take the time to work in silence, because the most lasting transformations happen beneath the surface, far from applause or recognition. God, as the morning light deepens, I begin to understand that patience is not the absence of motion, but the art of trusting motion I cannot see. It is the steady rhythm of breathing while the answer unfolds in ways beyond my grasp. You are teaching me that faith without patience becomes fragile. It breaks easily when results delay, but faith strengthened by patience becomes resilient. It bends without breaking, waits without losing heart. That is the strength I ask for now, not the strength to hurry things into existence, but the strength to stand still without despair. Father, teach me to wait the way nature waits. The seed does not resist the soil or rush the seasons. It surrenders to darkness before it can reach the light. It trusts that buried things still breathe. In the same way, let my spirit rest in the unseen work you are doing within me. When I cannot measure progress, let me remember that you measure differently. You count endurance as growth, silence as sacred, and patience as love in motion. Help me see the waiting not as wasted time, but as holy ground where I meet you most intimately. Lord, I think of the times I tried to force what was meant to unfold. I pushed doors that were not ready to open. I demanded clarity before I was mature enough to handle it. And when impatience broke what I tried to build, you still came with gentleness instead of judgment. You reminded me that broken timelines can become beautiful testimonies if I let grace rewrite them. Every season I called delay was actually divine, pacing you, slowing me down to protect me from walking ahead of grace. I see that now. The pauses that frustrated me were the very pauses that saved me. There is a calm that grows only through waiting, a kind of stillness that cannot be learned through rushing. It is the peace that comes when I stop measuring time by what I can achieve and start measuring it by how deeply I can trust. You are showing me that patience and peace are twin gifts. The more I trust your timing, the less I need to control mine. The more I rest in your plan, the less I panic about mine. It is a quiet strength, not loud, not dramatic, but constant, like the slow unfolding of dawn, the steady rhythm of waves, the pulse of life that never ceases, even when unseen. God, when my impatience rises, remind me of how long you have waited for me with compassion. Not frustration. You have watched me stumble, wander, and resist, yet you never withdrew your hand. If you, the creator of all things, can wait on me with love, how can I not learn to wait on you with faith? Teach me to mirror that patience in every part of my life, in relationships, in work, in healing, in prayer. Let me become a reflection of your gentleness, not reacting in haste, but responding with grace. Let my waiting speak louder than my words, a silent testimony that trust is stronger than urgency. Father, sometimes waiting feels like silence, and silence feels like absence. But I am learning that your silence is not neglect, it is invitation. It invites me to listen, to look inward, to discover that peace does not depend on answers. It is found in awareness. When you seem quiet, it is often because you are closer than ever, working in the spaces I cannot see. And when my prayers feel unanswered, it may be because you are answering me in ways my heart is not yet ready to understand. I look outside and notice how the light moves slowly across the earth. The sun does not rush to rise, yet it never fails to appear. It keeps its promise every morning, patient and sure. That is how I want my faith to move, not frantic, not fearful, but faithful, trusting that the dawn will always come, no matter how long the night feels. If creation can wait for its moment, so can I. If the stars can shine on time after ages of silence, then my soul can rest in the certainty that you are not done with me yet. Lord, I want to live this day at the speed of grace, not hurrying, not lagging, simply flowing with you. I want to learn how to breathe between prayers, how to see beauty in unfinished things, how to believe that patience is not losing time but gaining depth, because each waiting moment holds you within it. You are the God of the unseen, the artist of slow miracles, the keeper of perfect timing. And so I will wait not with bitterness, but with expectancy, not with fear, but with faith. For I know that in your timing, even delays bloom into blessings, and the peace that patience builds is worth every quiet. Waiting hour. Lord, patience has taught me to wait with grace, but sometimes even while waiting, the storm still rages. There are moments when peace feels like a distant shore I cannot reach, when my thoughts crash like waves and my faith trembles beneath the weight of what I cannot control. Yet as the wind howls and the rain falls, I remember you are not absent in the storm. You are in it. You are the voice that still speaks over the chaos, the presence that stands steady while everything else shakes. You do not always calm the storm immediately, but you always calm the one who calls your name. Father, I have spent so much of my life trying to outrun discomfort, trying to find peace by escaping what hurts. But true peace is not found in the absence of struggle, is found in your presence amid it. You are the eye of the storm, where stillness lives even as the world spins wildly around. Teach me to rest there, in the center of your heart, where the noise fades and trust begins to breathe again. Let me remember that the waves I fear are the very ones that carry me closer to you, God. There are days when I feel like Peter stepping out of boat brave for a moment, then overwhelmed by the winds I cannot control. Yet even when I sink, your hand reaches through the storm to lift me. You do not scold my fear, you steady it. You do not shame my weakness. You strengthen it. Every storm becomes a classroom where faith is refined, where I learn that peace is not something you give apart from yourself. It is who you are. And to find peace, I must simply stay near you. Father, I admit that sometimes I mistake business for control. When life spins too fast, I try to fix everything, to patch the leaks and calm the waters myself. But the harder I try, the more I sink. It is only when I stop fighting the current and turn my gaze back to you that calm begins to return. My heart slows, my thoughts soften. The waves no longer feel like threats, but like reminders that I was never meant to navigate the sea alone. You are not just watching from a distance, you are in the boat with me. Whispering, peace. Be still. Lord, you have shown me that peace is not passive, it is powerful. It takes courage to be still when everything around demands panic. It takes faith to breathe when fear tightens its grip. But the moment I choose stillness, your presence meets me there. The storm does not always stop, but its power over me breaks. My spirit learns that peace is not the product of circumstances, is the posture of trust. Even if the sky never clears, I can still find calm within, because you are with me, unchanging, unwavering, unafraid. God, when I look back, I see how many storms have already passed. Each one felt endless at the time, yet here I am. The same grace that carried me then carries me now. Every time the wind blew harder, your hand held tighter. Every time I thought I was sinking for good, you lifted me higher than before. I realize now that peace is not the reward for surviving the storm, it is the reason I did. You were teaching me endurance, not escape. You were shaping my heart to hold steady faith, even when the world beneath me trembles. Father, there are storms that come from outside loss, betrayal, uncertainty, and others that rise from within doubt, guilt, fear. But no matter where they begin, their solution is the same. To remember that you are bigger than the waves. You are not frightened by the depth of my despair or the violence of my questions. You simply speak into them with gentleness. Sometimes you do not remove the storm. You transform how I stand within it. You teach me to see not destruction, but direction, to recognize that every gust of wind can push me closer to the place where my faith matures. Lord, I want to carry that peace into everything I touch. I want to walk into rooms still trembling with fear and bring quiet, not by force, but by presence. I want to listen without judgment, love without conditions, speak with patience, and act with calm assurance that you are still in control. Let my peace become contagious, a reflection of the stillness you have planted within me. The world does not need louder voices. It needs steadier hearts. Make mine one of them. Sometimes, God, I find myself standing in the rain, soaked and cold, yet aware of something sacred in the storm. There is clarity that only comes when the sky opens and the noise of life is washed away. It is in those moments that I feel closest to you, not because everything is perfect, but because everything else has been stripped away. My prayers become simpler, my faith becomes purer, and peace, fragile yet fierce, begins to rise like light through the clouds. Father, I thank you for the storms that have shaped me, for the rain that has washed away false strength, for the winds that have carried me to places I never would have chosen, but always needed to reach. I no longer see storms as interruptions, but as invitations to trust deeper, to lean harder, to love stronger. You are not only the God of calm mornings and gentle skies. You are the God of thunder and lightning too. And if you are present in both, then I have no reason to fear either. So when the next storm comes, and I know it will, I will remember this peace. I will not run. I will not curse the wind. I will stand where you are, in the still center, breathing in the quiet that only you can give. For even when waves rise and skies darken, your light still pierces through. It may not end the storm, but it will always end my fear. And that, Lord, is peace enough for today. Father, as peace settles after the storm, I find myself standing in its quiet aftermath, surrounded not by destruction, but by clarity. The storm has passed, and what remains is the truth you wanted me to see, things I still hold on to, the hurts I have not yet released. Forgiveness is the calm that follows the storm, yet it is also the hardest calm to keep. It requires more than words. It requires the courage to let go of what I believe I deserve. You are showing me now that peace is not complete without forgiveness. For resentment is a storm of its own, raging quietly inside even when the world outside is still. Lord, I have carried certain wounds longer than I realized. They have shaped how I see others, how I protect myself, even how I speak to you. Sometimes I convince myself that holding on to pain gives me strength, but in truth, it only anchors me to the past. You whisper that forgiveness is not approval of what was wrong, it is freedom from its grip. It is not forgetting the wound, but choosing not to let it define the future. It is releasing the debt that no apology could ever repay, and in doing so, setting my own soul free. God, I admit that forgiveness feels impossible when the pain is deep. My heart wants justice, not mercy. It wants proof that wrong will not go unpunished. But you remind me that justice is yours, not mine, and mercy is the bridge between what I can't control and what you can redeem. You have forgiven me endlessly, even when I did not deserve it, even when I repeated the same mistakes. So how can I, who have been forgiven much, withhold grace from another? Forgiveness does not erase what happened, but it rewrites what happens next. It transforms a wound into wisdom, a scar into testimony. Father, I bring before you the names and faces that still stir unease in my heart. The people who hurt me, the ones I try not to think about, the moments that still replay in the quiet corners of my mind. I do not know how to forgive them perfectly, but I want to. So I give you my unwillingness. I surrender my bitterness, my need to be right, my silent rehearsals of pain. Take them from me and replace them with your grace. Let compassion grow where resentment once lived. Let understanding soften what time alone could not heal. Lord, I also ask for the strength to forgive myself. There are mistakes I still carry, words I wish I could unspeak, paths I wish I had not taken. I have looked at my reflection and seen only failure, when you have always seen redemption. You do not ask me to punish myself for what you have already forgiven. Teach me to see myself through your eyes, not as a collection of regrets, but as a work still becoming whole. Let self-forgiveness be the soil where new beginnings take root. God, forgiveness is the most divine of all acts because it mirrors your very heart. It is love choosing freedom over revenge, compassion over pride, peace over pain. It is the echo of the cross resonating through every human heart willing to let go. It is not weakness to forgive. It is the quietest kind of strength. It is the decision to stop letting the past speak louder than grace. And when I choose it, I feel lighter not because the memory is gone, but because it no longer owns me. Father, I think of how you forgive daily, endlessly, without measure. You keep no record of wrongs. Your mercy resets every morning like sunlight rising over a dark landscape. That is the rhythm of grace you invite me to live in, to forgive not once, but continually, to release not because they earned it, but because I am no longer willing to live chained to anger. Forgiveness is not something I do once. It is something I become. It is a practice of grace that grows deeper with each act of letting go. There is a quiet miracle that happens when forgiveness enters a heart. The memories lose their sting. The resentment that once seemed impossible to release melts into compassion. I start to see the humanity of those who hurt me, their own pain, their blindness, their brokenness, and in that understanding, I find empathy instead of bitterness. You remind me that every person I struggle to forgive is also someone you love. That truth changes everything. It humbles me. It frees me. It teaches me that love without forgiveness is incomplete. Lord, sometimes I imagine forgiveness as a river that flows from you through me to others. When I block it with resentment, the waters stagnate and my own soul thirsts. But when I let it flow, I am refreshed too. I do not lose anything by forgiving. I regain everything I had lost to bitterness. You created forgiveness not as a burden, but as a healing current. It does not erase the past, it transforms it into something sacred, something that carries wisdom instead of pain. Father, I thank you for showing me that forgiveness is not an emotion, it is a choice that must sometimes be made daily, even hourly, until peace replaces pain. Each time I choose it, my heart becomes a little freer, my spirit a little lighter, my life a little more like yours. The storm inside me grows quiet, replaced by a gentleness I cannot explain. And I realize that forgiveness is not only a gift I give to others, is a gift you give to me. So here, in this quiet morning, I release what I once thought I needed to hold. I choose freedom over resentment, compassion over memory, peace over pride. I choose to walk lighter into this day, no longer defined by what was done to me, but by what you are doing in me. And in this act of letting go, I find what I have been searching for all along: the calm after the storm, the peace beyond understanding, the still, sacred sound of a forgiven heart learning to love again. Father, as forgiveness settles into my heart like morning light, spreading across the horizon, I feel something new awakening inside me: gratitude. Not the shallow kind that depends on circumstances being easy, but a deep, steady thankfulness that comes from seeing your hand in all things. Gratitude is what grows when forgiveness takes root. It is the light that follows release, the warmth that replaces the cold of bitterness. As I breathe in this moment, I realize that to live with gratitude is to live awake, to see the sacred in the ordinary, to find blessings hidden even within the days that broke me. Lord, I have spent many mornings chasing what I did not have, counting what was missing and comparing my story to others. But today, I want to count differently. I want to count the quiet mercies, the overlooked graces, the countless ways you have sustained me without my noticing. I think of every time I woke to another sunrise, every meal that filled my hunger, every breath that carried me through another hour. I remember the people who loved me when I was difficult to love, the moments of laughter that interrupted pain, the music of life that kept playing even when I tried to silence it. Gratitude opens my eyes again to what has always been true, that I am surrounded by grace, God. Gratitude changes the language of the heart. Where complaint once lived, praise begins to grow. Where fear once whispered, trust starts to sing. Gratitude shifts my focus from what I lack to what I have, from what has ended to what still remains. It turns the smallest things, like the scent of morning air, the warmth of sunlight on skin, the comfort of familiar voices, into reminders that you are here. You are not only in the grand miracles, but also in the smallest kindnesses that sustain the soul. Gratitude transforms every moment into a meeting place with you. Father, I see now that gratitude is not a reaction, but a revelation. It does not wait for everything to be perfect. It recognizes that perfection is already present in your presence. Even the hard days hold hidden blessings. If I look closely enough, the challenges that once felt like curses have shaped resilience. The disappointments that once crushed my spirit have deepened my empathy. The losses that left me empty made space for something eternal to fill me. Gratitude does not erase pain, it redeems it, turning every scar into a story of survival and grace. Lord, there were seasons when I could not find a single reason to be thankful. I was too tired, too hurt, too afraid. But now I understand that gratitude is not about denying sorrow, it is about discovering light within it. It is a discipline of seeing with the heart when the eyes cannot yet perceive beauty. When I whisper thank you through tears, something shifts inside me. My pain loses its power to define me. Gratitude becomes an anchor, keeping me steady when life sways. It is the gentle reminder that even when everything changes, your goodness does not. God, thank you not only for what you have given, but also for what you have taken away. Some of your greatest mercies have come disguised as loss. The doors that closed protected me from harm. The endings that hurt cleared space for beginnings I did not yet understand. Gratitude teaches me that nothing is wasted, not the waiting, not the heartbreak, not the silence. Everything you allow serves a purpose that time eventually reveals. So even when I do not understand, I choose to trust. And in that trust, thanksgiving grows naturally, quietly, like a sunrise over my spirit. Father, I want to live a life marked by thankfulness, not the fleeting kind that fades when trouble returns, but a gratitude that endures, unshaken by circumstance. I want to speak words that uplift, see beauty where others see lack, and notice miracles where others see routine. Teach me to live slowly enough to recognize grace as it passes by, to linger in awe at the simple gifts that fill each day. Gratitude is not about having more, it is about seeing more. The more I look, the more I find. And the more I find, the more I realize that I have never been without reason to give thanks. Lord, I see now that gratitude is the language of heaven spoken on earth. It transforms fear into faith, worry into worship, scarcity into sufficiency. When I give thanks, I am aligning myself with truth, the truth that you are enough, that I am held, that even in uncertainty, there is beauty unfolding. Gratitude reorders my priorities. It quiets comparison. It fills the spaces that discontent used to occupy with peace that cannot be shaken. In gratitude, my soul finds its rhythm again, its pulse steady with the heartbeat of grace. God, as the morning continues to unfold, I find myself smiling at the thought of your patience. You have waited for me to see what has always been in front of me. The light through the trees, the laughter of a child, the scent of rain, the warmth of a hand in mine, these are sermons in themselves. Silent reminders of your love. Gratitude teaches me that I do not need to chase miracles. I only need to notice them. Every moment holds one if I pay attention. Every breath is a prayer of thanks waiting to be spoken. Father, I end this time of reflection not with requests, but with reverence. I do not ask for more blessings. I simply thank you for the ones already given. Gratitude fills my lungs like fresh air after a storm. It reminds me that joy is not something I must search, for it grows naturally wherever thanksgiving takes root. So I will carry this light of gratitude into the rest of the day, letting it illuminate every conversation, every task, every encounter. And as I walk through the hours ahead, may my life itself become a living prayer of thanks, a quiet, constant offering of love to the one who gives all things. And in giving, gives himself. Father, gratitude has opened my eyes to the quiet abundance around me, and with that awareness comes a gentle stirring, a calling, not just to receive your love, but to extend it. As the warmth of thankfulness fills me, I begin to understand that love cannot stay contained. It must flow outward. It is not enough to simply see blessings. True gratitude transforms into generosity. You did not bless me to make me comfortable, but to make me capable of blessing others. Every gift from you carries within it a quiet invitation to serve, to reflect your heart in a world that so easily forgets compassion. Lord, teach me what it truly means to serve, not out of duty or desire for recognition, but out of love that flows naturally from a grateful heart. Service is not about grand gestures. It begins in the smallest acts, the unnoticed kindnesses, the patient listening, the gentle words spoken to a weary soul. It is the way I carry myself in crowded places, the way I treat those who cannot repay me, the way I see others not as interruptions, but as invitations to love. Help me live in such a way that people feel lighter after crossing my path. God, you have shown me through your own example that love and service are inseparable. The hands that created the stars also washed feet. The heart that holds eternity still stopped for one lost soul on the roadside. You have never separated hollowness from humility, nor power from compassion. To serve, then, is to imitate you not because I must, or because I cannot help but love what you love. Make my heart tender enough to notice need and strong enough to act upon it. Let every gesture, no matter how small, become a reflection of your mercy moving through me. Father, sometimes I hesitate to serve because I fear my offering is too small, my efforts too insignificant to matter. But you remind me that love multiplies in ways unseen. A cup of water, a kind word, a prayer whispered in secret, all these are seeds that grow into unseen forests of grace. The measure of love is not in its size, but in its sincerity. You have never asked me to change the world, only to be faithful with the portion you have placed before me. And so I offer my hands, my time, my words, my presence, trusting that you will turn them into something more than I could imagine. Lord, remind me that service is not only for strangers. It begins closest to home. It is found in how I speak to those I love, how I forgive those who frustrate me, how I honor those who have walked before me. It is in the quiet sacrifices that no one sees, the patience that replaces anger, the understanding that softens judgment, the willingness to stay when it would be easier to walk away. Let my love be consistent, not selective. Let me serve both the grateful and the ungrateful alike, for that is how you serve me every day. God, I realize now that love is not merely an emotion, but a decision, a daily commitment to choose compassion over convenience. It asks for my presence when I would rather withdraw, for my kindness when I am misunderstood, for my grace when my pride wants to speak louder. Love demands that I stay soft in a world that rewards hardness, but I know that every time I choose gentleness, I reflect a glimpse of you, and in that reflection, others may come to know the one who never stops loving them. Father, help me see the sacredness in serving. The world often measures success by what we gain, but you measure it by what we give. You see the unseen acts, the hidden sacrifices, the quiet prayers that go unnoticed. Remind me that nothing done in love is ever wasted. Each act of kindness, though it may seem small, ripples outward in ways I cannot trace. It changes atmospheres. It heals hearts. It brings light into places where despair once lived. To serve is to participate in your ongoing creation, to bring order, hope, and beauty where chaos and emptiness once were. Lord, there will be times when serving feels heavy, when gratitude fades under exhaustion, when love costs more than I expected. In those moments, remind me that I am not serving alone. You are the strength behind every act of compassion. You refill what I pour out. You remind me that I am not meant to save anyone, that is your work alone, but I am called to love them, to be a vessel through which your presence can flow. Service is not about fixing. It is about showing up again and again, with open hands and a willing heart. God, I also pray that you help me serve without resentment or pride. Let me never give out of obligation or to seek validation. Let love remain pure, rooted in humility and joy. When I begin to seek credit, remind me that the truest service is often invisible, known only to you. And when I grow weary, remind me that love replenishes itself through giving. The more I share, the more I receive. The more I pour out, the more I am filled. For love, when given freely, never runs dry, it multiplies. Father, I want to live this day as a servant of light, to carry peace into conflict, patience into pressure, and kindness into spaces where it has been forgotten. I want to listen more than I speak, give more than I expect, love more than I fear. Let me not overlook the quiet opportunities before me, the stranger who needs a smile, the friend who needs understanding, the soul who needs to be reminded that they matter. Each moment is a chance to serve you by serving them. As this morning unfolds, I sense that gratitude and service are not separate paths. They are one and the same. Gratitude opens the heart. Service lets that heart move. Gratitude fills me. Service empties me back into the world so I can be filled again. This is the rhythm of grace, to receive love, to give love, and in giving, to encounter you once more. Let every step I take today, every act of kindness, every word of gentleness become my quiet way of saying thank you for all that you are, for all that you have given, and for allowing me to reflect even a small part of your boundless love. Lord, as love begins to move from gratitude into service, I realize that true service requires more than effort. It demands compassion, not the shallow sympathy that merely feels sorry for others, but the deep, active empathy that chooses to see through their eyes. Compassion asks me to step into another's pain without turning away, to be present even when there are no words that can fix what is broken. It asks for strength wrapped in gentleness, for courage disguised as tenderness. And so I come before you now, asking not for comfort, but for the kind of strength that feels the strength to stay open in a world that constantly teaches us to close. Father, compassion is often misunderstood. The world tells us that to feel deeply is weakness, but you have shown the opposite. The heart that breaks for others becomes the very place where your love dwells most fully. When I see someone as pain and choose not to look away, I am standing in the same posture you took when you reached out to touch the leper, to weep for the lost, to forgive those who mocked you. Compassion is the language of heaven spoken through human hands. It is the slow, sacred work of love in motion, and it often goes unnoticed. But you notice, Lord. You always notice, God. There are moments when compassion feels heavy, when I absorb the sorrow of others until my heart aches with their burdens. In those moments, teach me how to carry it with grace. Remind me that I am not meant to fix everything. I am meant to reflect your presence within it. Compassion is not about solving pain, but standing beside it, holding space for healing to begin. Is choosing to believe that no tear falls unseen, no cry goes unheard, and no heart is beyond redemption. When I grow weary from caring, refill me with your tenderness so I can keep loving without losing myself. Lord, you know how easily my compassion can be tested. It is simple to love the grateful, but harder to love the ones who reject kindness. It is easy to care for those who are gentle, but difficult to forgive those who cause harm. Yet you loved even the ones who nailed you to the cross. You prayed for their forgiveness while they wounded you. That kind of compassion feels beyond reach, but I want to learn it. Teach me how to see through your eyes, to recognize that behind every harsh word and hardened face is a story I do not know. Help me love the broken without needing to understand the details of their breaking. Father, remind me that compassion does not require agreement. It requires understanding. It does not excuse wrong. It extends grace. It does not mean I allow harm. It means I respond to it without hatred. You never compromised truth to show mercy, yet you never withheld mercy to defend truth. In you, the two meet perfectly. Teach me that balance, to hold conviction in one hand and compassion in the other. Let neither outweigh the other. Let both work together to reflect your heart, a heart that is just yet merciful, firm yet kind, powerful yet gentle. God, compassion also means extending the same kindness to myself. There are days when I grow frustrated at my limitations, when I condemn myself for not being enough. But you remind me that compassion must begin within, or else it cannot flow outward authentically. When I am harsh with myself, my love toward others becomes strained. So I ask you to soften the voice inside me that criticizes and to replace it with patience. Teach me to speak to myself as you speak to me, with truth, but never cruelty. Only then can I truly mirror your love to others. Lord, I want to be the kind of person who carries warmth wherever I go. Let compassion be my instinct, not my afterthought. Let my first response be gentleness, not judgment. Let me listen more than I lecture, care more than I correct, and comfort more than I criticize. In every conversation, let kindness be the echo that remains after I leave. Let others feel seen, not sized up, heard, not hurried, loved, not labeled. That is the quiet power of compassion. It leaves healing where it passes. Father, I know that compassion will sometimes hurt. It will stretch me beyond what feels safe. It will expose me to stories that haunt me, faces that stay in my mind long after the moment ends. But maybe that is what keeps the heart human. Maybe the compassion is not something to escape, but something to embrace. It reminds me that love still lives inside me, that I have not grown numb to suffering. The heart that feels deeply is the same heart that can love deeply. To close myself off from pain would be to close myself off from you. God, help me remember that compassion has the power to heal, not only the one who receives it, but also the one who gives it. Every act of kindness reshapes me, sanding down the sharp edges of pride, softening the hardness of self-centeredness. When I comfort someone else, I often find healing for my own hidden wounds. Compassion becomes a mirror of your grace, reflecting both the giver and the receiver in the same light of mercy. And when I love the hurting, I am reminded of how you first loved me when I was lost and unworthy. Lord, I ask that today you let my compassion be courageous. Let it reach beyond my comfort zone to the lonely, the misunderstood, the overlooked. Let it speak through my actions, not just my words. Let it fill silence with presence and pain with peace. Let it break through walls that fear and pride have built, so that others may see you through the cracks. Compassion is not just an emotion, it is the expression of heaven on earth. And I want to live it fully. So as this morning light stretches across the sky, I dedicate this day to walking in compassion, to see as you see, to love as you love, to serve as you serve. Let me remember that every act of care, no matter how small, participates in the healing of the world. Let my compassion not be fleeting, but steadfast like sunlight that keeps shining even on cloudy days. And as I go forth, may my heart remain open, my spirit gentle, and my strength rooted in love that never runs out, because it flows from you. Father, as compassion deepens my heart, I begin to understand that all love, all forgiveness, all gratitude, and every act of service stand upon one foundation: faith. Without faith, even kindness becomes fragile, and hope turns faint under the weight of the unknown. Faith is the unseen thread that holds everything together, the invisible bridge between what is and what will be. It is what allows me to keep walking when I cannot see the end, to keep loving when love is not returned, to keep believing when silence lingers. It is not blind confidence, but trust built through knowing you are who you say you are, even when everything around me shifts. Lord, faith is not a feeling that rises and falls with circumstance, is a decision renewed each morning. It is choosing to believe in light even when I wake to clouds. It is standing in the middle of uncertainty and whispering, "You are still good." I used to think faith meant certainty, but now I see it means surrender. It is the courage to let go of control and still call you faithful. It is to rest not because I understand, but because I am known. Faith is the quiet defiance of fear, the steady hand that reaches out in the dark and finds yours waiting. God, there are days when faith feels strong, like a flame that burns bright and steady. But there are also days when it flickers, when the winds of doubt and exhaustion threaten to blow it out. On those days, remind me that even a trembling faith is still faith. You never measured belief by its size, only by its sincerity. The mustard seed you spoke of was small, yet within it was power to move mountains. Let that truth comfort me when my confidence falters. Faith does not mean I never fear, it means I choose to trust you more than my fear. Father, Sometimes faith feels like standing on the edge of reason, stepping forward with no visible ground beneath me. The world calls that foolishness, but you call it trust. The greatest miracles begin in that place of risk, when I let go of what I know and cling instead to who you are. Faith is not about predicting outcomes. It is about resting in your character. You are constant when life is not. You are faithful even when I am not. And every time I dare to trust you again, you prove yourself strong in the very places I felt weakest. Lord, I realize now that faith grows best not in certainty, but in tension. It stretches in the waiting, matures in the silence, and shines brightest in the dark. I used to pray for evidence, but now I pray for endurance. I used to ask for clarity, but now I ask for closeness. The more I walk with you, the more I see that faith is not about outcomes, but about relationship. It is not about having every answer, it is about knowing that even without them, you remain enough. God, help me to live with a faith that breathes, not one that hides behind routine. Let it be alive, not mechanical. Let it move me toward others, not isolate me in fear. I do not want to recite trust. I want to embody it. Let my choices reflect confidence in you even when my emotions tremble. Let my patience in waiting become a testimony that you are worth trusting even when I cannot see progress. True faith does not demand proof. It lives from peace. It does not insist on control. It rests in surrender. Father, I know faith often grows through hardship. The very things I once asked you to remove were the soil where trust took root. I see it now. The nights that felt endless became the places where I first learned to listen. The losses that broke me taught me that faith is not about getting what I want, but about discovering that you are enough even when I do not. Every unanswered prayer shaped endurance. Every delay built perspective. Every closed door redirected me towards something far better than I had planned. Faith grows quietly, like roots beneath the earth, unseen but unshakable. Lord, when my path feels long and the destination uncertain, remind me of the countless before me who lived by faith. Abraham stepped out without knowing where he was going. Moses faced the sea before it split. Ruth followed love into an unknown land. Their strength was not in what they saw, but in who they trusted. They walked with courage because their hearts were anchored in something eternal. Let my life be anchored like that, to live not by what I feel, by what I know to be true, that you are faithful still. God, faith is not passive, it is a daily movement of the heart. It is the quiet yes whispered again and again when fear says no. It is the perseverance that keeps praying even when the answer seems delayed. It is the confidence to rise again after every fall. Believing that your grace is not finished with me, faith transforms my perspective. Instead of asking, why me? I begin to ask, what are you forming in me? It changes despair into devotion, panic into peace, and struggle into sacred ground. Father, I ask for a faith that not only survives storms, but sings through them. A faith that does not crumble when plans fail, but grows stronger in surrender. A faith that sees your fingerprints, even on days that seem ordinary. Let it be so rooted in gratitude, forgiveness, compassion, and love that no circumstance can uproot it. Let it breathe through every word I speak, every choice I make, every silence I endure. Let faith be my compass when I cannot see direction, my anchor when the world shifts, and my song when all else fades to quiet. Lord, as the morning unfolds into day, I realize that faith is not something I carry alone, is something carried in me. It is the steady rhythm beneath every prayer, the unseen assurance that I am held. And as I step forward into the unknown once again, I choose to believe not because I see the outcome, because I have seen your heart. I believe that every breath has purpose, that every step leads somewhere sacred, and that every act of trust draws me closer to the one who never fails. This is the quiet power of faith to live not by sight, but by the light that never goes out within. Lord, faith has taught me how to stand when I cannot see, but now you are teaching me something even deeper, to rest while I wait. Trust is not the same as believing with words. It is believing with silence. It is the calm that grows when I stop trying to prove that I trust you and simply do. It is a stillness that does not depend on outcomes, but on confidence in your character. Trust is faith matured, love anchored, hope made quiet. And as I breathe in this morning light, I feel that this is where you have been leading me all along, to a peace that no longer needs explanation. Father, I used to think that trust meant everything would make sense. I prayed for understanding, thinking clarity would bring peace. But clarity is not peace, it is just control disguised as wisdom. True peace is not knowing how you will work, but knowing that you will. It is resting in the assurance that even when I cannot trace your hand, I can still trust your heart. The silence that once frightened me now feels sacred. It is no longer emptiness, it is presence. It is the space where your voice speaks without words, where my soul learns to listen beyond sound. God, I am learning that trust is not passive. It requires courage to stay still when everything inside me wants to move. It takes strength to wait without panic, to hold my ground when fear whispers that I have been forgotten. Trust is the art of surrendering control while standing firm in faith. It is not a denial of emotion. It is a decision stronger than emotion. Even when doubt rises, trust answers with stillness. Even when worry shouts, trust whispers. He knows. This is not resignation. It is release. It is giving you permission to be God in all the ways I cannot. Lord, there have been seasons where I mistook waiting for wasting. I saw delay as denial and stillness as stagnation. But you were working all along invisibly, intentionally, intricately. You were teaching me that what grows in silence lasts longer than what blooms in noise. You were shaping my soul to depend on presence, not progress. Now I see that every pause was preparation. Every unanswered prayer was an invitation to deepen trust. Waiting is not the absence of movement. It is the alignment of timing. And you, in your perfect wisdom, are never late. Father, teach me to rest without fear that I am falling behind. The world tells me to chase, to produce, to prove. But you tell me to be still and know. You do not measure my worth by speed, success, or visibility. You measure it by trust, by how freely I can rest in the unseen, How quietly I can stay when everything around me demands motion. To trust you fully is to let go of my timelines, my strategies, my need to manage what only you can orchestrate. It is to breathe deeply and know that even here, even now, you are enough, God. Trust does not come naturally to a restless heart. I have learned how to fight, how to endure, how to hope. Learning to rest is different. It feels unnatural to stop striving, to let you carry what I cannot fix. Yet this surrender is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is strength choosing gentleness, certainty choosing stillness. When I release my grip on control, I do not lose power, I gain peace. And in that peace, I finally recognize your fingerprints everywhere. In the timing I questioned, in the doors that closed, in the quiet I once resented. Lord, I think of how nature trusts you without hesitation. The birds do not wonder where their next meal will come from. The flowers do not fear whether spring will return. The ocean does not question its boundary, nor the sun its rising. They simply exist within the rhythm you designed. I want my heart to mirror that same rhythm, to live without the constant noise of fear, to move in step with your will rather than wrestle against it. If creation can trust you with its cycles, surely I can trust you with my days. Father, remind me that trust does not mean I will never tremble. It means I will not let my trembling lead. It means that when fear visits, I will not build it a home. I will keep choosing trust again and again until it becomes the language of my soul. You never asked me to be fearless. You asked me to be faithful, and faith without trust is incomplete. Faith begins the journey, but trust carries it through the wilderness. Trust is what remains when every visible sign fades. It is the quiet knowing that you are still in control. God, I want to live with the kind of trust that brings calm to chaos, the kind that does not react but responds, the kind that looks at storms and says, "Even this will pass." I want to wake each morning without fear of what might go wrong, because I know you are already in tomorrow. I want to end each day not with worry, but with worship, remembering that I was never alone in any moment. To trust you is to live lighter, freer, unburdened by the weight of outcomes. It is to walk through uncertainty with peace that defies explanation. Lord, this stillness you are teaching me is not an escape, it is empowerment. It is standing in the middle of life's noise and choosing quiet inside my soul. It is the awareness that everything does not need my control to be okay. I can rest because you are working. I can wait because you are faithful. I can breathe because you are near. And in this stillness, I hear the truth echo again. I am held. I am seen. I am safe. Father, as this morning unfolds into light, I will choose trust over tension. I will let go of what is not mine to carry and hold fast to the promise that you never fail. Let my heart be steady in stillness, my mind at peace in uncertainty, and my spirit unshaken by what I cannot understand. Trust is not about predicting the future. It is about resting in the one who already holds it. And as I walk through this day, may my stillness become a living prayer, a quiet testimony, that in every unknown, you are enough. Father, as trust settles into stillness, I begin to see that the next step is surrender, not the defeat the world imagines, but the deepest form of freedom. Trust keeps my heart steady in uncertainty, but surrender opens my hands completely. It is no longer asking you to bless my plans, but inviting you to rewrite them. It is laying down the illusion of control, not because I have lost it, but because I never truly had it. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving over. It is choosing peace instead of resistance, choosing your will over my desire, choosing presence over pressure. And in that choice, I discover a quiet kind of liberty, one that does not depend on outcomes, but on obedience. Lord, surrender begins in the small spaces. It is in how I respond when plans change, how I hold my temper when pride flares, how I accept endings that come too soon. Every moment offers an altar a chance to release what I cannot keep and trust that you hold what I cannot carry. When I cling to what I think I need, I suffocate my spirit. But when I release it, I breathe again. You have been patiently teaching me that surrender is not a single act. It is a rhythm, a posture, a daily letting go. Each morning I wake, I have to choose again to loosen my grip and say, "Have your way, God." Surrender used to frighten me. I thought it meant losing myself. But you are showing me that it is the opposite, is finding myself in you. When I stop fighting for control, I finally make room for grace to flow freely. When I stop resisting your timing, I discover the beauty of divine alignment. I do not need to push doors open or force answers. I only need to walk faithfully until the right one opens. Surrender teaches me that obedience is not a burden, but a release. That your will is not a limitation, but a liberation. Father, I am learning that surrender does not erase pain. It transforms it. The circumstances may remain the same, but my posture changes. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" I begin to ask, "What are you forming within me?" Surrender turns trials into teachers, loss into lessons, waiting into worship. It is the shift from striving to resting, from demanding to trusting. And in that sacred exchange, I find you closer than ever, not above the storm, but within it, holding peace steady at the center. Lord, there are times I try to surrender only halfway. I release what is comfortable to lose, but hold tightly to what still feels safe. Yet you invite me into full surrender, not a selective one. You remind me that partial surrender is still resistance. So I bring before you not just my worries, but my wants, not just my fears, but my ambitions, not just my pain, but my pride. You see it all anyway. So why pretend to hide it? When I give you everything, you return what is meant for me purified, refined, and ready. The rest fades away, and in that refining, I am made whole. God, surrender is not passive resignation, it is active trust. It is saying, even if not, you are still good. It is living without guarantees, yet resting in assurance. It is walking forward without every answer, but knowing I am guided. It takes courage to lay down the need to know and let love lead instead. It takes strength to choose peace over panic when nothing goes as planned. Yet that strength does not come from within me, it comes from you. My surrender is only possible because your grace meets me there. Father, I remember the moments when you gently took what I clung to, not to punish me but to free me. The relationships that ended, the plans that crumbled, the doors that stayed closed, all of them felt like loss until time revealed their mercy. You were protecting me from paths that would have broken me. You were redirecting me towards something I could not yet see. Every surrender has been a doorway into something deeper wisdom. Patience, humility, compassion. The more I release, the lighter I become. The lighter I become, the closer I feel to you. Lord, I see now that surrender is not a moment of weakness, but of worship. It is not kneeling in defeat, but in devotion. It is saying, your way, not mine, not out of despair, but out of delight, because your way is better. It is the kind of worship that does not always have words, only willingness. It is hands lifted not just in praise, but in letting go. And in that letting go, I feel the weight of everything I was never meant to carry fall away: expectations, fears, regrets, control. What remains is peace, so still it feels like grace itself breathing. God, help me live surrendered not only when life breaks, but also when life blesses. It is easy to let go when I am desperate, but harder when things go well. Teach me to surrender in abundance as I do in scarcity, in joy as I do in struggle. Remind me that even blessings can become burdens when I try to own them instead of steward them. Let my success never become a substitute for surrender. Keep my heart humble enough to remember that everything good comes from you and returns to you. Father, surrender is not the end of control. It is the beginning of communion. It turns fear into freedom, striving into stillness, chaos into clarity. It teaches me that I do not need to hold the pen when the story is safest in your hands. The pages you write are never wasted, and even the unfinished ones hold beauty because you are in them. As I walk through this new day, help me carry this truth like breath in my lungs. That surrender is not losing my story, it is finding where yours begins. Lord, as the light breaks across the horizon, I offer this morning to you again, not as a demand, but as a dedication. Whatever this day brings, I choose to receive it as part of your design. I will not resist the shaping or resent the stillness. I will not grasp what is leaving or fear what is coming. I release, I rest, I trust, and in this sacred quiet, I finally understand surrender is not about letting go of life. It is about letting you hold it. Father, after surrender comes a quiet radiance, a soft, steady gratitude that rises not from what I gain, but from what I finally see. It is as if the heart, once clenched in striving, begins to open again, breathing in the beauty that was always there. Gratitude is not just a response to goodness. It is the recognition of it. It shifts my eyes from what is missing to what has never left. It turns every breath into a reminder that life itself is a gift, unearned and undeserved, yet freely given. As the morning unfolds, I feel that gratitude is not something I must find, it is something I must allow. Lord, gratitude transforms how I move through the world. It softens the edges of sorrow and expands the capacity of joy. When I am thankful, I no longer measure life by what I receive, but by how deeply I notice. The smallest things become sacred, the warmth of light on my face, the sound of laughter echoing through an ordinary day, the way silence holds space for peace. Gratitude makes nothing too small to celebrate and nothing too broken to redeem. It opens my eyes to the constancy of your goodness, the quiet miracles that fill the hours I too easily overlook. God, I have learned that gratitude is not a denial of pain. It is the defiance of despair. It does not pretend that everything is easy, but it insists that even within difficulty, something beautiful remains. Gratitude is the lens that lets me see light through cracks, purpose through pause, grace through grief. It does not require explanation, it only asks for awareness. To say thank you in the middle of what hurts is not weakness. It is worship. It is standing in the dark and choosing to remember that dawn always comes. Father, there were times when I searched for reasons to be thankful and found none. But now I see that gratitude is not a list, it is a lifestyle. It does not depend on emotion, but intention. It is not built on outcomes, but on perspective. Gratitude does not erase hardship. It reframes it. Reminds me that even in loss, I am not empty. Even in waiting, I am not forgotten. Gratitude whispers, you are still here, still loved, still growing. And that whisper is enough to keep the heart steady. Lord, I have discovered that gratitude is not loud. It does not demand attention or applause. It lives quietly in the soul, shaping how I see everything. It is present when I choose patience instead of complaint, when I find beauty in ordinary things. When I say thank you not because everything feels right, but because I trust that you are. Gratitude turns my focus away from what I fear to what I already have, from scarcity to sufficiency. It reminds me that abundance was never about accumulation, but about awareness that I already stand inside blessings I once begged for. God, thankfulness is a language that teaches the heart humility. It reminds me that every good thing is borrowed, not owned. The breath in my lungs, the people I love, the chances I am given, they are all gifts, not guarantees. Gratitude keeps me tender, reminding me not to take grace for granted. It slows me down enough to see the details, the way light moves across a quiet room, the kindness in a stranger, a smile, the resilience that carried me through nights I thought I would not survive. Gratitude reveals that the ordinary has always been extraordinary, waiting for my eyes to notice. Father, when I live with gratitude, even my struggles shift shape. Instead of asking why this, I begin to ask what now. Pain becomes a passage, not a prison. Mistakes become lessons, not labels. Every experience, joyful or difficult, becomes a thread in the tapestry of grace. Gratitude does not mean ignoring the wounds, it means recognizing that healing is happening, even if slowly. It means understanding that you are working, even when I cannot yet see how. In gratitude, I stop trying to control the narrative and start trusting the author. Lord, there is a sacred simplicity in a grateful heart. It does not need grandeur to be full or perfection to be content. It finds joy in what is, rather than what might be. When gratitude rules my thoughts, worry loses its throne. When thanksgiving fills my speech, bitterness loses its echo. Gratitude anchors me to the present, keeping me from being swept away by regret or anxiety. It roots me in this moment, this breath, this chance, this grace. Every heartbeat becomes a hallelujah. God, let my gratitude be more than words. Let it be a way of living, a posture that radiates kindness, patience, and generosity. Gratitude that stays silent is incomplete. It must express itself through action. A smile offered, a burden lifted, a moment of listening, a hand extended. When I live thankful, I become a reflection of the very grace I have received. Gratitude is not about having everything. It is about seeing everything differently. It is the awareness that nothing is truly mine, and yet I have more than enough. Father, gratitude grows deeper when shared. When I give thanks aloud, it multiplies. When I notice goodness in others, it expands. A grateful heart does not compete. It celebrates. It does not envy. It honors. It does not hoard. It gives. Gratitude transforms comparison into compassion, frustration into faithfulness, business into balance. It teaches me to move slower, to see clearer, to love wider. When gratitude leads, joy follows naturally, not as a pursuit, but as a presence. Lord, as the day awakens fully, I lift this heart of thanks, not because everything is perfect, but because you are. Gratitude turns the ordinary into holy ground, and I want to walk through this day aware of that holiness. Let every task, every encounter, every breath be touched by thankfulness. Let my eyes stay open to wonder, my spirit stay humble in awe, and my voice stay gentle with praise. Gratitude is not a finish line. It is a way of being. And as I step into the light of this morning, I carry it within me not as duty, but as delight. Lord, as gratitude fills my heart, it begins to spill outward, forming something even greater, compassion. Gratitude opens my eyes to how deeply I am loved, but compassion opens my heart to love others the same way. It is the bridge between receiving grace and giving it. It is the echo of your kindness moving through me, shaping how I see, speak, and act. Compassion is not merely sympathy. It is divine awareness turned into movement. It is love that refuses to stay silent, care that chooses to reach beyond comfort, mercy that looks like you. Father, compassion begins where judgment ends, is born when I stop comparing stories and start seeing souls. When I understand that every person I meet carries unseen battles, unspoken fears, and quiet prayers, I can no longer stand apart from them. Compassion breaks the illusion of separation. It reminds me that we are all fragments of the same creation, all breathing in the same borrowed grace. It does not ask who deserves kindness, it gives because kindness itself is sacred. To live compassionately is to live awake. God, there was a time I thought compassion was weakness, a softness that made people vulnerable to disappointment. But now I see it for what it truly is: strength under control, tenderness wrapped in courage. Compassion is not fragile, it is fierce. It stands beside the suffering without being swallowed by despair. It listens when it would be easier to turn away. It forgives when the world says to forget. Compassion is the quiet power that rebuilds what anger destroys, the unseen thread that keeps humanity from unraveling. Lord, teach me to carry compassion not just in my words, but in my presence. Let it live in the way I look at others, in the patience of my tone, the gentleness of my gestures, the humility of my listening. Sometimes people do not need answers. They need acknowledgement. Sometimes healing begins not in solutions, but in being seen. Help me remember that to love like you is to listen like you, to enter someone's pain without trying to fix it, to hold their heart without judgment, to remind them that even in their breaking, they are still beloved. Father, compassion is costly. It asks me to feel when I would rather stay numb, to care when I could choose convenience. It asks me to give time I think I do not have, to forgive wounds that still ache, to extend grace where none was offered to me. But every time I choose compassion over comfort, something in me becomes freer. I discover that love does not drain, it multiplies. That the more I give, the more I have. Because compassion is not from me. It flows through me. It is the current of your heart passing through human hands. God, remind me that compassion begins within. I cannot pour love from an empty vessel. I must first learn to treat my own soul with gentleness, to forgive my own failings, to see myself through your mercy. Self-compassion is not self-indulgence, it is self-restoration. It is returning to the truth that I am loved even when I stumble. The same grace I extend to others must also meet me where I fall. When I see myself through the lens of your patience, I become more patient with the world. When I forgive myself, I learn how to forgive freely. Lord, compassion transforms how I view brokenness. What once looked like failure now feels like opportunity to love deeper, to understand wider, to reflect you more clearly. Every act of compassion, no matter how small, becomes a seed of redemption, a word spoken gently, a burden quietly lifted, a kindness offered without recognition. These are the silent sermons that preach your heart better than any speech. The world may not notice them, but heaven always does. Love never goes unnoticed, and compassion never returns void. Father, sometimes compassion means doing nothing grand at all, just showing up. Sitting beside the grieving, listening without advice, smiling at a stranger who looks lost, paying attention. The smallest gestures become sacred when done with love. You never measured impact by size but by sincerity. You saw worth in the widow's coin, in the child's faith, in the tear of repentance. Remind me that every moment of compassion counts, that every act of kindness, no matter how hidden, reshapes the world in ways unseen. God, there are days when compassion feels heavy, when the suffering of others becomes overwhelming. In those moments, teach me balance. Remind me that I am not the healer you are. My role is not to fix every broken heart, but to reflect the one who can. Help me release the weight of trying to save everyone, and instead trust that love itself is enough. When I feel weary, refill me. When I feel numb, renew me. Let my compassion flow from overflow, not exhaustion. Lord, compassion does not end with empathy, it moves toward justice. It does not merely feel for others, it stands with them. It is love with legs, mercy with motion, faith with flesh. To live compassionately is to live courageously, refusing indifference in a world that numbs itself with distraction. Let me be one who notices what others ignore, who reaches where others retreat, who believes that no act of love is ever wasted. Compassion is not about changing the whole world at once. It is about refusing to let the world harden my heart. Father, as this morning light grows brighter, so may the light of compassion within me. Let it shine quietly into every corner of my day. Let it soften my responses, guide my choices, and expand my capacity to love. When I meet others, may they sense not judgment but understanding, not distance but warmth. Compassion is the language of heaven spoken fluently through human kindness. Let my life become one long translation of that language, word by word, moment by moment, until mercy becomes my reflex and love my legacy. Father, after learning the quiet strength of compassion, I now find myself standing at the threshold of something even deeper, faith that dares to trust beyond sight. Compassion awakens love within me, but faith anchors that love in action. It steadies the trembling heart when life shifts without warning. It reminds me that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. Faith is not blind. It sees differently. It looks through fog and still believes in sunrise. It listens through silence and still believes in your voice. Lord, I confess that faith has never come easily to me. I am quick to analyze, slow to surrender. I crave proof when you ask for trust. Yet every time I have fallen into uncertainty. You have shown me that faith begins where understanding ends. It is not about knowing every step, it is about knowing the one who guides them. Faith does not erase fear, but it changes what fear means. Instead of paralyzing me, fear becomes the soil where courage grows. And courage, I am learning, is simply faith wearing work clothes. God, teach me to live with courageous faith, the kind that chooses trust before clarity, obedience before comfort, and hope before outcome. I want the kind of faith that keeps walking even when the road disappears under my feet. The kind that still sings when the night feels long. The kind that sees delay not as denial but as direction. Let my faith not depend on circumstance, but on character, your character, which has never failed. Every promise you have made has stood the test of time, and every season of waiting has held hidden wisdom. Father, courage in faith is not loud or reckless. It is quiet persistence. It shows up in the daily choices, the decision to love again after being hurt, to try again after failing, to forgive again after being betrayed. It is easy to believe in you when the path is smooth, but true faith is born in the wilderness, when there is no map, no guarantee, only your whisper saying, "Keep going." That whisper has carried me farther than any certainty ever could. It has turned fear into focus and doubt into devotion. Lord, I often think of faith as climbing, but sometimes it feels more like falling, trusting that even when I let go, you will catch me. Courageous faith does not cling to control. It leans into surrender. It is stepping out onto water not because I am fearless, but because I trust the one who walks beside me. It is believing that when I stumble, grace will meet me before the ground does. And in that trust, courage grows stronger not from perfection, but from persistence. God, remind me that courage is not reserved for great battles. It lives in quiet hearts and ordinary days. It shows up in how I speak truth gently, how I stay kind in conflict, how I choose patience over pride. Every small act of faith becomes a declaration that love is stronger than fear. And when my courage falters, remind me that you never ask me to be fearless, only faithful, for even mustard seed faith, when held by steady hands, can move mountains I never thought could shift. Father, sometimes courage looks like waiting. In a world that glorifies speed, stillness feels unnatural. Yet faith teaches me that waiting is not wasting it, is working beneath the surface. It is roots deepening unseen. It is trust taking shape in silence. The hardest faith is not when I see no way forward, but when I must stand still while others rush ahead. Help me resist the urge to force progress and instead find peace in patience. You are never late. You are always preparing. Lord, I think of those moments when faith costs something real, when obedience means letting go of comfort, when honesty risks rejection, when conviction invites criticism. It is in those moments that faith becomes more than belief. It becomes bravery. To live by faith is to live vulnerably, open to both pain and possibility. But what is faith without risk? It is the step into uncertainty that reveals who I truly trust. You never promised safety, but you promised presence, and that has always been enough. God, give me courage to have faith not only when I need rescue, but also when I must remain. To stand firm in love when the world grows cold, to forgive when resentment feels easier, to choose integrity when compromise offers reward. Let my faith not waver with emotion, but deepen through devotion. Let it be quiet enough to listen, bold enough to act, and strong enough to endure. Faith is not built overnight. It is formed in the fire of consistency, one choice, one breath, one step at a time. Father, faith is a melody that plays beneath life as noise, a rhythm that reminds me I am never abandoned. Even when doubts echo louder than truth, I can still hear that quiet refrain. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. That promise has steadied generations before me, and it steadies me now. It is the reason I rise, the reason I keep trying, the reason I can look ahead without trembling. Faith is not my achievement. It is your invitation. It is the courage to believe that you are already where I am going. Lord, as morning light spills across the earth, I feel faith rising again, not as a feeling, but as a foundation. It stands beneath every uncertainty like bedrock beneath shifting waves. It tells me that storms do not last, that darkness does not win, that love never leaves. Faith does not promise an easy road, but it guarantees a worthy one. And as I walk forward today, I carry this quiet courage with me, not to conquer the day, but to walk through it unafraid, knowing that every step I take rests firmly in the strength of your unseen hands. Lord, as courage deepens through faith, I feel you calling me into a quieter strength, the strength of surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of trust. It is the letting go that liberates, the yielding that empowers, the silence that speaks louder than striving. In faith, I found courage to stand. In surrender, I find peace in kneeling. The world tells me that victory is found in control, but you teach me that freedom begins in release. Every time I unclench my hands, I discover that they were never empty. They were simply holding too tightly to what was never mine to keep. Father, surrender is not natural for me. I am a creature of control, always reaching, planning, and protecting. My heart often wrestles between trust and self-will. But I have come to see that surrender is not giving up. It is giving over. It is turning my gaze from what I cannot change to the one who changes everything. When I let go of the illusion of mastery, I finally find rest. The burdens I have carried were never meant to be mine alone. You never asked me to fix the world, only to trust you within it. God, surrender feels like falling, but it is actually being caught. It feels like weakness, but it is where true strength begins. It asks me to stop fighting battles that are not mine, to stop chasing answers that belong to time, to stop fearing what was never under my control. Surrender means believing that even when life feels unsteady, you remain unshaken. It is the decision to trade anxiety for assurance, exhaustion for ease, chaos for calm. It is the quiet confession that you are God and and that realization brings more peace than any victory could. Lord, when I resist surrender, my spirit grows restless. I replay conversations I cannot undo, relive moments I cannot repair, and reach for futures I cannot predict. But when I release those things into your hands, the noise fades. Stillness takes their place. Surrender does not erase the storm, it simply changes where I stand within it. Instead of being tossed by the waves, I become anchored in grace. The sea may roar, but I no longer have to drown in it. For every surrender is not a loss of control, it is a gain of clarity. Father, you remind me that surrender is not passive. It is active faith. It is choosing to believe that your plan is better, even when mine makes more sense. It is stepping back so that you can step forward. It is the posture of open hands, ready to receive what I need instead of clinging to what I want. To surrender is to trust that timing is not my enemy, and waiting is not a punishment. It is the belief that every delay has purpose, every detour has meaning, and every unanswered prayer is still heard. God, I have learned that surrender begins in small places. It happens in the quiet choice to forgive someone who may never say sorry, in the humility to admit that I cannot carry what once defined me, in the courage to stop performing for love and start resting in it. Every surrender rewrites my heart a little more in your language of peace. It is not a single act, but a rhythm, a daily releasing, a daily remembering. Surrender is the song of the soul that trusts the conductor even when it cannot hear the full melody. Lord, when I surrender, I notice how much lighter the world becomes. The same weight I once feared to let go now feels unnecessary to hold. The same uncertainty that once filled me with dread now whispers possibility. In surrender, I see how every closed door was not rejection but redirection. Every ending carried the seed of a new beginning. Surrender gives me eyes that see beyond pain, beyond fear, beyond failure. It opens a window to grace. It teaches me that peace was never found in control, but in connection to you, to purpose, to truth. Father, even Jesus lived the power of surrender. In the garden, with trembling voice, he said, "Not my will, but yours be done. That moment was not weakness, it was the turning point of eternity. True surrender is sacred strength, born not of resignation but of revelation. It is the understanding that trust is not dependent on outcomes, but rooted in relationship. When I surrender, I stop demanding answers and start desiring alignment. My prayers change from why to what now, and from when to however you will, God. Surrender does not mean I no longer care. It means I care differently. Means I stop trying to manipulate what I cannot control and start cultivating faith in what I cannot see. It teaches me to hold things lightly. Dreams, people, outcomes. What belongs to me will stay, and what leaves will make space for what is meant to arrive. Surrender transforms anxiety into expectancy. It changes what if into even if things do not unfold the way I imagined. You are still good. Even if I lose what I thought I needed, I am still held. Lord, teach me to live surrendered but not stagnant, to trust deeply but still act faithfully. Surrender is not escape. It is engagement from a place of peace. It gives me freedom to live fully, because I am no longer enslaved to fear. When I surrender, I am not stepping back from life. I am stepping into your flow. The world says strength is control, but you show that true power is peace. I no longer need to prove myself, defend myself, or perfect myself. I only need to rest in the truth that you are already enough. Father, as morning light softens across the horizon, I breathe in this quiet surrender. I feel it settle into my bones, gentle yet unbreakable. It is not the end of striving, it is the beginning of serenity. I do not need to force what you are already forming. I do not need to understand what you are still unfolding. My part is to trust, to release, to remain. And as I do, I discover that surrender is not the closing of hands, but the opening of heart, the sacred space where peace finally finds its home. Father, as surrender settles within me, peace begins to unfold quietly, steadily, like dawn touching the edges of night. It does not arrive with thunder or fanfare. It seeps into the cracks where fear once lived. Peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of trust. It is the calm assurance that even when the world trembles, my soul can remain still in you. I used to think peace was something I had to chase, but now I see it was never lost. It was waiting beneath the noise, patient and faithful. Like you, Lord, this peace you give is not fragile. It does not shatter under disappointment or dissolve in the face of pain. It is not built on comfort, but on confidence that you are near, even in silence. When the winds of life howl, your peace whispers louder. When chaos rises, your stillness remains. The world teaches me to seek peace through escape, distraction, or denial. But you teach me that peace is found only in presence. I cannot outrun fear, but I can outstay it when I remain in you, God. There is a kind of peace that cannot be taught, only tasted. It comes after tears have fallen, after the fight within has quieted, after the heart has finally stopped arguing with grace. It is not born from victory, but from surrender. It is the deep knowing that I am safe, not because everything is right, but because you are righteous. This peace does not depend on circumstance, it flows from covenant. It is not found outside of me. It grows within, watered by faith, rooted in trust, nourished by love. Father, teach me to protect this peace. The world is skilled at stealing it through distraction, comparison, and worry. My mind races toward what could go wrong, and my heart forgets what has gone right. But peace is not passive. It must be guarded. I guard it when I choose gratitude over grumbling, forgiveness over resentment, simplicity over striving. I guard it when I stop rehearsing fear and start repeating truth. Peace grows in the soil of stillness. It thrives where attention meets faith. Lord, sometimes peace comes not through answers, but through acceptance. When I stop demanding to know why and start trusting who, the tension releases, my shoulders soften, my breath steadies, and my spirit exhales the weight it was never meant to hold. This is the sacred rhythm of peace. Inhale, trust. Exhale, control. The more I breathe this way, the lighter I become, even in uncertainty. Peace reminds me that I do not walk alone. You walk within me, God. I remember the nights I begged for peace, believing it would arrive like a miracle that erased my storms. But now I understand it was never about removing the waves, but learning to rest upon them. True peace does not need perfect conditions. It needs perfect confidence. It is a steady heart in a shaking world. It is the hand that reaches for yours when the road grows dark. It is the voice that says, "Still, I trust." Even when nothing changes outside, peace changes everything inside. Father, your peace redefines what safety means. It is not the guarantee of protection from pain, but the assurance of purpose through it. It is not the promise of calm waters, but the certainty that you remain in the boat. I find peace not because I control my life, because I trust the one who controls the seas. When I cannot see where you are leading, peace reminds me that faith does not need a map, it needs memory. Memory of your goodness, your faithfulness, your unbroken care. Lord, let my peace not be limited to quiet mornings and gentle prayers. Let it live in the noise, in the tension, in the rush. Let it travel with me into crowded places, difficult conversations, and uncertain tomorrows. Let it become a portable sanctuary, a still center within me that cannot be shaken by what surrounds me. Peace is not an escape from the world. It is the strength to stay in it without losing balance. It is being steady while others panic, being kind while others harden, being hopeful while others despair. God, peace is also a choice. Every day, I must decide whether to listen to fear or to faith. Fear shouts of scarcity, but peace reminds me of sufficiency. Fear predicts failure, but peace remembers your promises. Fear feeds on chaos, but peace grows in clarity. And every time I choose peace, I become more like you. For you are not the author of confusion, but the composer of calm. You speak stillness into storms, and those same words now echo within me. Be still. Father, your peace has a purpose beyond comfort, is meant to flow outward. A peaceful heart becomes a peaceful presence. Wherever I go, I can carry calm into the lives of others. not through preaching, but through being. Peace is contagious. It spreads through gentleness, patience, and quiet strength. When others see peace in me, they see you. Let my words be seasoned with serenity, my steps steady with grace, my spirit calm even in crisis. Let peace be my testimony, proof that trust has taken root. Lord, as this day continues, I no longer ask for a life free of trouble. I ask for a soul free of turmoil. I no longer pray for storms to cease, but for the wisdom to rest within them. I do not need to know what comes next. I only need to know that you are already there. Peace is not the end of the journey, it is the path itself. Each step I take in peace is a step toward you. And as I walk through this morning light, I realize that true stillness is not found in silence, is found in surrender, resting in love. Lord, as peace settles deeply within me, it gives birth to something gentler yet profoundly strong patience. It is not passive waiting, nor is it quiet frustration disguised as calm. True patience is faith stretched across time. It is the willingness to remain steady when everything in me wants to rush, to trust your timing when my own feels unbearable. It is learning that delay is not denial, that silence is not absence, and that waiting is often where you do your deepest work. Father, I have spent much of my life rushing to fix, to achieve, to prove, to control, but in every hurried moment, I missed the sacred rhythm of grace. You never move too fast, yet you are never late. The seasons obey you, the tides keep your time, and still I forget that my life, too, is held within that divine rhythm. Teach me that patience is not punishment, it is preparation. It is the quiet classroom where my faith matures, where my roots grow unseen, where trust becomes stronger than desire. God, patience feels heavy because it demands surrender again and again. It means embracing the in-between, where prayers are spoken but not yet answered, where seeds are planted but not yet sprouted. It is easy to praise when harvest arrives, but patience is the worship that happens in the soil when nothing seems to move and yet everything is becoming. The waiting season is holy because it tests whether I love the promise or the promiser. Patience is not what I give to time. It is what I give to trust. Lord, I admit that waiting can make me weary. There are moments when I question whether you have heard me at all. In those moments, remind me that waiting is not wasted. It is a pause designed to build perspective. You do not delay because you forget. You delay because you are forming. When I wait with grace, I learn endurance. When I wait with gratitude, I learn wisdom. Every waiting season carries within it a lesson, the art of seeing beyond the now, the art of living without demanding. Father, patience teaches me to honor the pace of grace. I do not have to force doors open that you have not yet unlocked. I do not have to chase what you are still preparing. When I rest in patience, I am no longer driven by scarcity, but sustained by sufficiency. I begin to see that the slowness of your process is not a flaw, it is mercy. You are aligning what I cannot see, protecting me from what I am not ready for, and shaping me into someone who can carry the blessings I once begged for. God, there is a sacred strength in patience that the world does not understand. In a culture that glorifies speed and applauds urgency, Patience feels like weakness, but true strength is the ability to stay still when others scatter, to endure quietly when others explode, to hold peace while the world demands reaction. Patience is not indifference, it is disciplined faith. It is the art of holding hope steady when evidence runs thin. It is trusting that every second surrendered to you becomes sacred time. Lord, sometimes patience is not about waiting for circumstances to change, but about waiting for myself to change within them. It is about allowing grace to refine my perspective, teaching me to find purpose in delay. What feels like a standstill is often a sacred recalibration. The waiting molds me into someone gentler, humbler, wiser. It breaks the pride that insists on control and replaces it with the peace that rests in dependence. In patience, I learn that the journey is not just about arrival, it is about becoming. Father, when patience feels impossible, remind me of nature's quiet testimony. The seed buried in darkness never doubts the coming spring. The river never hurries yet always reaches the sea. The stars move in silent precision, never rushing their rise. Everything that lasts moves slowly, and everything that rushes burns out quickly. Teach me to move with eternal rhythm, not earthly urgency. I would rather walk in your time than run ahead and lose my way. God, I have discovered that patience is intertwined with love. To be patient with others is to love them without expectation of change. To be patient with myself is to love who I am becoming, even when I fall short. To be patient with you is to love your wisdom more than my will. Patience removes the pressure of perfection and replaces it with the posture of peace. It allows me to be present in the process, to find meaning even in the middle, to trust that the masterpiece is forming long before I see the full picture. Lord, I realize now that patience is not just a virtue, it is a form of worship. Every moment I wait without resentment, I am declaring that your timing is trustworthy. Every breath I take in peace instead of panic is an act of praise. Patience is faith stretched out into time. It is love made visible through endurance. And in this patience, I am reminded that you are not slow, but thorough, not distant, but deliberate. What you begin, you finish. What you promise, you fulfill. Father, as the morning continues to unfold, let patience become the pulse of my heart. Let it guide my speech so I answer gently, my steps so I move wisely, my spirit so I rest deeply. I do not want to live in constant haste. I want to live in holy rhythm, trusting that every delay carries direction. Let my waiting be worship, my stillness be strength, my patience be peace in motion. And as I walk through this day, teach me not to count minutes, but to make moments meaningful, trusting that everything, in your perfect time, becomes beautiful. Father, as patience takes root within me, a new light begins to rise. Hope. It is not loud or hurried, but steady and enduring, like the first glimmer of dawn after a long night. Hope does not erase the shadows, yet it reminds me that darkness is never final. It teaches me that even when the soil of my heart feels barren, seeds of promise are still alive beneath the surface. Hope is the quiet conviction that what I have yet to see is already being prepared. It is faith stretched into the future, anchored in your eternal goodness. Lord, I once thought hope was fragile, something easily broken by disappointment. But now I see it as unyielding, a sacred thread that ties my spirit to yours. Hope is not naive. It is resilient. It survives heartbreak, withstands delay, and grows stronger through pain. It does not deny reality. It redeems it. True hope is not built on what I desire, but on who you are. When everything around me seems uncertain, hope whispers of consistency. It reminds me that those seasons change. Your character does not, God. Hope feels different when born from patience. It is no longer desperate reaching, but peaceful expectation. It waits without anxiety because it knows who holds the timeline. Hope is not blind optimism. It is clear vision anchored in trust. It does not say everything will be easy, but everything will be made right. It stands in the ruins and still imagines rebuilding. It looks at the cross and still sees resurrection. Hope sees what eyes cannot, hears what silence hides, and believes what fear denies. Father, teach me to live as one who carries hope, not merely as a feeling, but as a way of being. Let it color how I speak, how I serve, how I love. Hope is not static, it is movement toward light. It propels me to keep going even when I do not know how. It urges me to get up again after failure, to forgive again after betrayal, to dream again after disappointment. Hope does not erase the scars. It transforms them into signs of survival. It reminds me that I have been through worse and still risen by grace. Lord, when hope seems distant, remind me of the small ways it has already shown itself. The gentle warmth of morning light, the laughter that returns after grief, the unexpected kindness of a stranger. These are the quiet proofs that you are still writing good into the world. Hope often hides in ordinary places, in steady breaths, in second chances, in the courage to believe again. When I am too wary to hold it, you hold it for me. And somehow, it finds its way back into my heart. God, there are times when hope feels foolish, when reality seems too heavy to lift. But even then, hope persists like a stubborn flame. It refuses to die because it is not powered by circumstance, but by love. It reminds me that endings are often disguised beginnings, that brokenness is the birthplace of beauty. When I choose hope, I am choosing to see beyond the visible, to declare that despair does not have the final word. Hope is the echo of eternity in a temporary world. It is the language of heaven spoken softly in human hearts. Father, I have learned that hope and humility walk hand in hand. Hope does not demand. It trusts. It does not control. It surrenders. It does not boast in certainty. It rests in promise. The humble heart hopes differently. It no longer tells you what to do, but asks to see what you are doing. It stops praying for escape and starts praying for endurance. Hope humbles me because it reminds me that my story is not mine alone. It is woven into yours, a thread in the grand design of grace. Lord, sometimes the hardest part of hope is the waiting between revelation and realization, the space between it will be and is. Yet that is where you shape me most. You teach me to find joy in expectation rather than outcome, to worship not only for fulfillment, but for faithfulness. Hope teaches me to celebrate before the evidence appears, To thank you not because everything is resolved, but because everything is held, even when life seems delayed. Hope declares, this is not the end. It is the unfolding. God, hope is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the breath of the soul, the reason to rise each morning. It is the quiet insistence that there is more to the story than what I see now. Hope holds my heart steady when dreams fade, when prayers seem unanswered, when time stretches thin. It does not let me give up, it reminds me of the greater good that is still being written. Every sunrise carries the same message. Beginnings never run out when grace is involved. Father, hope also makes me generous. When I am filled with it, I cannot help but pour it into others. I speak words that lift, not crush. I look at people not by their failures, but by their future. I become a vessel through which your encouragement flows. To give hope is to give light, to remind another soul that they are not forgotten, that healing is still possible, that you are still at work even in the unseen. Hope shared is hope multiplied. It expands in every heart it touches. Lord, as I breathe in this morning air, I realize hope is not something I chase, it is something I choose. It is not built by emotion, but by decision. Each day, I can choose to believe in light despite the dark, in purpose despite the pain, in love despite the loss. I can choose to hope not because everything makes sense, but because you do. And as this day unfolds, I will walk forward carrying this quiet, radiant hope, not fragile, not fleeting, but firm as sunrise, steady as grace, alive as your promise that joy always comes in the morning. Father, as hope takes root and stretches toward light, it begins to awaken something deeper in me, the desire to forgive. Hope and forgiveness are twin gifts. One looks forward while the other lets go. Without forgiveness, hope becomes heavy. Without hope, forgiveness feels impossible. But together, they restore the soul. Forgiveness is the sacred release that frees me from the chains I cannot see. It is not forgetting, nor pretending that pain never happened. It is choosing to be free from its hold. It is a quiet revolution of the heart where peace replaces poison and love silences bitterness. Lord, I used to believe forgiveness was something others needed to earn. I thought it was a reward for remorse or an apology given at the right time. But now I know it is not about them, it is about me and you. It is an act of trust, not transaction. Forgiveness is my declaration that I'll not let pain define my peace. It is not weakness, it is wisdom. It does not excuse injustice, but it ends its influence. Every time I forgive, I am cutting ties with the past so that my future can breathe again. God, forgiveness is rarely easy. It costs something every time I offer it. It costs pride, resentment, and the desire for revenge. But that cost is small compared to the freedom that follows. When I hold on to anger, it becomes my prison. When I let go, it becomes my passage to healing. I cannot change what happened, but I can change what happens next. Forgiveness is the courage to stop replaying pain and start rewriting purpose. It turns wounds into wisdom, memories into mercy, and brokenness into blessing. Father, sometimes the hardest person to forgive is myself. The echoes of regret linger longer than anyone's words. I replay decisions, mistakes, and moments I wish I could undo. But you remind me that grace is not that includes me too. Forgiving myself is not pride. It is obedience. It is accepting your mercy as truth rather than punishment as comfort. When I release myself from shame, I no longer live from guilt but from gratitude. The past no longer defines me. It refines me. Forgiveness is not forgetting who I was, it is remembering who I am becoming. Lord, there are also wounds too deep for words, the betrayals that shattered trust, the losses that carved scars. Forgiveness does not erase those moments. It transforms their meaning. It does not deny the pain, but denies the pain permission to rule. Forgiveness is a process, not a performance. It happens slowly, like dawn rising over a long night. Sometimes I forgive with tears still falling, sometimes with trembling hands, but each act of release brings me closer to peace. The weight lessens, the anger fades, and I begin to breathe freely again. God, I have learned that forgiveness is not something I give once, is something I live daily. It is the decision to love again in a world that disappoints, to stay soft in a culture that hardens. Every day, I must choose to forgive new offenses and old memories alike. Forgiveness is not the closing of a wound. It is the cleansing of it. It keeps the heart tender, the mind clear, and the soul open. Without it, joy becomes fragile, and love becomes guarded. But with it, life becomes lighter, and peace becomes permanent. Father, forgiveness is a reflection of your nature. You never demanded perfection before offering pardon. You loved first, forgave first, and restored what was lost before we ever knew how to ask. To forgive like you is to reflect heaven on earth, to see people not by what they have done, but by who they were created to be. Forgiveness gives me your eyes, to look past offense and see the hurting heart beneath. It is the bridge between justice and mercy, built by grace, walked by faith, and sustained by love. Lord, when forgiveness feels impossible, remind me of your patience with me. You have forgiven me more times than I can count, more deeply than I deserve. If you can erase debts measured in eternity, how can I withhold grace measured in days? The strength to forgive does not come from me. It comes from remembering what I have already received. Forgiveness flows from gratitude, not from willpower. When I recall how gently you restored me, I can no longer justify resentment. To forgive others is to echo the mercy that saved me. God, forgiveness is not only about releasing others, it is about restoring relationships. Sometimes reconciliation follows, sometimes it does not. But forgiveness always opens the door to peace. It allows me to move forward without dragging bitterness behind. It heals not only what was done to me, but what has been growing within me. In forgiving others, I rediscover compassion. I stop seeing enemies and start seeing humans, imperfect and in need of grace just like me. Forgiveness reminds me that no heart is too hard for love, no wound too deep for healing. Father, I know forgiveness does not always come quickly. Some hurts take time to release. Some hearts take courage to revisit. But I also know that every small step toward forgiveness is a step toward freedom. I do not have to feel ready to forgive. I only have to begin. Healing often begins with the decision to try. And in that decision, you meet me with gentleness, with strength, with peace. Forgiveness is not the ending of pain, it is the beginning of possibility. It is the key that unlocks a heart made whole again. Lord, as morning unfolds and light fills the sky, let forgiveness fill my soul the same way. Let it wash over every memory still aching, every name still heavy on my tongue. Let it cleanse what resentment once claimed and renew what love once lost. I do not forgive because they deserve it. I forgive because I am free. I do not let go because it was easy. I let go because holding on no longer serves love. And as I walk into this new day, may my heart remain open, light, and fearless, free, not because everything is resolved, but because everything is released. Father, as forgiveness settles in the quiet corners of my soul, something beautiful begins to bloom. Love, not the fragile kind that depends on feelings or reward, but the steady, radiant love that flows from you. It is not the echo of emotion, but the essence of eternity. Love is what remains when everything else fades. It is what heals what forgiveness releases. It is the final proof that peace has taken root. Love is not learned through comfort. It is revealed through surrender. It is patient when I am impatient, strong when I am weary, endless when I am limited. Lord, I have seen how easily the world distorts love. It often measures it in return, conditions it upon worth, or limits it to what is convenient. But your love is not like that. Your love gives without guarantee, stays without demand, and forgives without reason. It is fierce in mercy, limitless in reach, unshaken by rejection. To love like you is to live beyond self, to choose compassion when it costs, to stay kind when the world grows cold. Love is not a feeling I fall into. It is a choice I rise into each day. God, teach me to love deeply, not safely. It is easy to guard my heart behind caution, to measure what I give for fear of loss. But you call me to love boldly, knowing that love itself is the reward. Love does not fear pain. It transforms it. It does not avoid wounds. It heals through them. When I love like you, I learn that vulnerability is not weakness. It is the very soil where miracles grow. Every act of love plants eternity in a moment, turning something ordinary into something holy. Father, love begins in stillness. It is born not from striving, but from being loved first. When I sit in your presence, I am reminded that I am not earning your affection. I am living from it. That realization changes everything. I no longer love to be loved. I love because I am already loved. The more I receive your love, the more naturally it flows outward. It softens my tone, gentles my steps, and shapes my vision. Love becomes not what I do, but who I become. Lord, there are times when loving feels costly, when others wound me, when gratitude never comes, when kindness is mistaken for weakness. In those moments, remind me that love is not transaction, it is transformation. It is the quiet power that changes the unseen. Every time I choose love over resentment, I am participating in redemption. Love does not need recognition to be real. Its reward is in the reflection of your heart. Even when love is not returned, it is never wasted. it still leaves light behind. God, your love redefines what power means. The world prizes control, dominance, and pride, but you show that true power kneels, listens, and serves. Love is the greatest strength because it conquers without violence, persuades without argument, and endures without condition. Love does not force change, it inspires it. It speaks softly but carries the weight of truth. When I love others, I am joining you in the quiet revolution of grace that has been unfolding since the beginning of time. Father, sometimes love looks like listening. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like sacrifice. It does not always feel pleasant, but it always feels right. Love is not loud. It is loyal. It does not boast, yet it builds. It does not demand, yet it delivers. It finds meaning in service and joy in giving. Love is not always convenient, but it is always consequential. It leaves echoes that linger long after words fade. Every time I love selflessly, I add something eternal to the story of the world. Lord, love also calls me to love myself rightly, not in vanity, but in reverence, to treat my soul as something sacred because you dwell within it. When I see myself through your eyes, I no longer measure my worth by success or failure, beauty or approval. I learn to extend to myself the same gentleness I offer to others. Love of self in your light is not selfish, it is stewardship. It reminds me that I am responsible for the vessel that carries your presence. When I honor myself rightly, I love others more fully. God, there are people I find difficult to love, the ones who test my patience, wound my spirit, or walk away without goodbye. Yet even they are yours. Help me to see them through the lens of grace, not grievance. Love does not mean agreeing with every action or ignoring truth. It means desiring healing more than revenge. When I love those who least deserve it, I mirror the mercy that once found me. Love does not pick favorites. It pursues the forgotten. It looks for the lost until they remember where home is. Father, your love makes me brave. It teaches me that I can speak truth without cruelty, correct without condemnation, and stand firm without hatred. Love does not weaken conviction, it deepens it. It keeps my strength from turning to pride and my passion from becoming destruction. Love turns justice into restoration, truth into tenderness, and boundaries into protection rather than punishment. In love, I learn balance, grace without compromise, compassion without fear, mercy without exhaustion. Lord, as this morning light spreads across the world, let your love spread through me the same way, quietly, consistently, completely. Let it touch every thought before it becomes a word, every word before it becomes an action. Let my presence bring warmth to cold hearts, gentleness to hardened places, and calm to restless souls. Let me love without agenda, serve without recognition, and forgive without condition. Love is the language of heaven, and I want to speak it fluently, not with eloquence, but with authenticity. Father, love is not something I will ever master. It is something I must continually choose. Every sunrise invites me to begin again, to love a little deeper, a little truer, a little freer. Love is not a moment, but a movement, not a gesture but a life. And as this day unfolds, may I carry like light within me, soft yet strong, humble yet holy, until every breath, every thought, every act becomes one more whisper of your love made visible in this world. Father, as this final morning unfolds, I find myself breathing slower, standing still in the quiet where everything began. Every chapter of this journey has been a return back to your heart, back to my center, back to the truth that I was never walking alone. The days have changed, the seasons have turned, but your presence has never drifted. You have been the constant melody beneath all my noise, the gentle rhythm guiding me home. And now, as light spills softly over the edge of the world, I understand that prayer is not only spoken in words. It is lived in the way I love, the way I forgive, the way I rise again. Lord, I see now that faith is not a finish line, but a breath that never ends. It is not an achievement, but a relationship. Not a formula, but a friendship. You have taught me that hollowness hides in ordinary things: the steaming cup of morning coffee, the laugh of a child, the ache of forgiveness, the courage to keep going. You are not distant. You are disguised in every moment that calls for kindness. You meet me not in the thunder, but in the whisper, not in perfection, but in persistence. You are in the silence between my thoughts, shaping peace out of chaos, reminding me that even the smallest act of trust becomes worship when offered with sincerity. God, I once prayed for signs big, dramatic proof of your power, but now I find you in the smallest miracles, in the breath that fills my lungs, in the sunrise that refuses to fail, in the mercy that greets me before I deserve it. Your love has no edge, no end, no expiration. It has carried me through valleys, lifted me through storms, and whispered truth when fear tried to shout louder. You did not remove every mountain. You gave me strength to climb. You did not erase every scar. You turned them into stories that shine with redemption. Father, I am grateful for the nights when faith felt faint, because they taught me that hope does not vanish in darkness, it glows brighter. I am grateful for the prayers that went unanswered, because they led me to deeper trust. I am grateful for the pain that once broke me, because it built in me the capacity to love without measure. Every unanswered question became an invitation to believe anyway. Every delay became a lesson in patience. Every loss became an opening for grace to enter. The journey was never about getting everything I wanted, but about becoming everything you created me to be. Lord, you have turned fear into faith, doubt into direction, waiting into worship. I have learned that joy is not found in perfect circumstances, but in perfect presence. The peace you give does not depend on what happens around me, but on what lives within me. I no longer chase certainty. I rest in connection. I no longer demand to know the plan. I trust the one who holds it. My hands, once clenched in control, now open freely in surrender. To live with you is to live unafraid, to wake up each day knowing that love will meet me before I move. Mercy will follow before I fail, and grace will cover what I cannot comprehend. God, as this long prayer draws to its quiet close, I sense that it was never really about reaching the end. It was about learning how to live in the middle with wonder. With gratitude, with unwavering trust, life will still bring questions. Seasons will still shift, but I will not walk through them as I once did. I carry new eyes now, eyes that see blessing where I once saw burden, eyes that see purpose where I once saw pain. You have rewritten the way I see the world. What used to feel random now feels redeemed. What once broke me now builds me. What once felt lost now feels loved. Father, I pray for those who have journeyed through these words with me. May every listener, every heart that has paused in this sacred quiet, feel your nearness in ways beyond language. May their mornings be wrapped in your peace, their evenings anchored in your presence. May every worry be met with wisdom, every wound with compassion, every delay with divine timing. Let them know that even when they cannot see you, you are already working ahead of them. And when they whisper their own prayers trembling, tired, or triumphant, let them sense you listening, smiling, understanding completely. Lord, bless the one who has stayed through this entire journey. They did not come here by accident. Something in their spirit said yes to hope, yes to healing, yes to a deeper kind of peace. Pray you reward that courage with quiet strength. Let their faith grow roots that cannot be shaken. Let their voice become light for others, still searching in shadow. Remind them that their story matters, that every step, even the small ones, are seen by you. If they ever forget their worth, whisper again what you have always said, that they are chosen, cherished, and never forgotten. To you who are listening now, thank you for walking this path. Thank you for opening your heart, for breathing deeply, for choosing stillness in a restless world. If these words have touched you, carry them forward. Share them. Speak them. Let them echo in someone else's dawn. Leave a few words below your prayer, your hope, your gratitude, so that others may feel less alone. Together we are building something sacred, a community of faith that stretches across miles, languages, and time zones, bound not by perfection but by presence. If this prayer has strengthened you, I invite you to stay connected, subscribe, share, return each morning as we continue to seek light together. Let this space be your reminder that you are not alone, that faith still moves mountains, that love still wins, that the sunrise always returns. May you step into today lighter than before, freer than yesterday, and braver than ever. And as you go, may the world around you grow quieter, the air turn softer, the light rise warmer, until you realize the dawn you were waiting for has been shining within you all along.